But Chad is here to back me up. All right. Anyways, boys, look at this glorious crew here, being here tonight. We have a little special program tonight. We're gonna talk about the PTR 1.35.0 patch that has been released. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. It's gonna be a roundtable discussion where not only I or Neo give our views, but also we have some high class level Warcraft players in the house. And Carson as well. And that's going to be Leon, Starbuck, and Starshaped, and Carson with his wonderful hat. Guys, it's good to have you here. Some of us have been here before. Starshaped, for example. Why don't you make the beginning for the introduction, Starshaped? How you doing? How you been? What's up, buddy?
I'm doing fine. I'm pleasantly surprised that we get a PTR. I could have bet money that we'd never get another update for the rest of the game's life. So, I mean, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat, I gotta say, but here we are.
Yeah. I was super shocked, but cool to see, and it's it's a very strange patch, which we'll get into. It's got its highs and lows for sure, and a lot of things that probably won't leave the PTR, I imagine, but we'll get to that too. But I'm happy to be here.
The man, the top left, actor, top model, sweetheart, Leon. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm actually as well very surprised that we're getting some balance changes. I really didn't expect it because actually I was working at a school and suddenly I saw Discord popping up and everyone was talking about siege tanks attacking units. And I thought it was a troll actually, and I was like, what is happening? And then after I came back from school, I just realized the patch came out and I was very happy about it that something is happening actually. So that's something which I think is very important for our community.
Indeed. Starbuck, you're here once again as well. I always love having you in the mix as a random player. Basically know all the ins and outs from all the different races. How are you doing? How have you been?
Oh, I've been very good. I'm getting into that Christmas spirit. Otherwise, yeah, I was getting bored with Warcraft, but now that a surprise patch came out finally, something fresh. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And the man sitting there in a yogi pose. Isn't it cold in Canada, Carson? How you doing? What's up?
Hello. It's warm in my room always because I have the windows closed and the computer on. By the way, though, you called me out in your introduction, Remo. You will bestify me. Reverse race, motherfucker. Undead's in balance. Let's go. Let's go right now. Let's just cancel this whole patch review. Launch the game. Let's go.
There's a waiting line for reverse race. Kevin comes before you. I still haven't practiced any games of Night Elf, but from what I gather, you don't need much practice.
I thought you were switching race. I thought you were switching.
No, yeah, exactly. Like I'm gonna off-race as Night Elf. He's gonna play Undead. Gonna be a best of 7 even. We don't have a date set yet, but soon there will be. But yeah. Like I said, good to have all of you guys here. Guys, we're going to jump into the patch notes soon. You've already seen them, I imagine. If you want to have them open yourself, type exclamation mark PTR in chat to see them there. We're also going to have them here displayed on the screen to visualize it all. Before we get into the nitty-gritty and talk about all the different points and all of your all of the things you like and don't like, can you give, first of all, an overall statement of the patch? Like, if you were to rate this one, you read through it already. What would you say? What were your feelings, your first feelings, and your follow-up feelings regarding this patch as a whole with this first PTR? Leon, what do you think?
Well, I think when I saw the buffs and nerfs, when I'm talking about my race, about humans, I was very, very surprised that those changes about the tanks popped up, actually, because I never thought that we need something like this. That was a bit irritating for me. I like that they buffed a bit the HP of the peasants. I like that they also buffed the Paladin a bit, but I sometimes thought that there would be a better change for human in some matchups than they did, actually. So that was my first impression about that. And the other changes, I was a bit surprised about the orc changes, actually, because I think the headhunters Well, we found a solution for that matchup actually, and the matchup is pretty equal in my opinion. And the nerfs we just see in this PTR are, for me, in my opinion, a bit too rough. Maybe if a little change is cool, but that was too much for me, in my opinion. And the undead race is still, in my opinion, a bit too strong. I mean, I play a lot against happy. Sorry.
And
Yeah.
Elian, sorry to cut you off. I feel like this might be going a little bit too long. We're gonna jump into
Okay,
all
okay,
the different,
okay. Sorry.
all the
Okay,
different,
sorry. Yeah.
all the different things soon. I just wanted to hear like a quick, but you know what? That was a stupid question, anyways. I think
Okay.
a better question to ask, which is one that has been swirling around the community for a long time, is an important question. The one I'm about to ask, because it very much pertains to balance and to the changes that are necessary. And this is where, in the community, and I'm also sure about among you, there's not 100% consensus. I'm talking about problematic matchups. I think it will be interesting if first we lay out our opinions of what the problematic matchups are. Don't just explain why yet. We're going to do that later as we get into the thick of things. Just say what you think the problem matchups are, with which side being favored, of course. Let's ask Starshaped first. I'm sure he's of the opinion that Night Elf is quite strong in so many regards.
Wait. Hold on there. You just asked me. Let me say what I think. So problematic matchups. Just stating the matchups, you mean, and not going into details?
Yes, we're going to go into the details later. Just as
the ones I think
initial
are problematic are Night Elf against Orc, Undead against Human, and that's pretty much it. I would say that are like really problematic. Those are the two big ones for me.
Okay, Starbuck.
Undead versus Human. I think that's the only one right now.
Oh, only one. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I will explain later. Like in the past, Leon already touched a bit on it. When Headhunters got strong and became meta, Human players had really a lot of problems dealing with it. But now that more time passed by, they got used to it, created some new builds and so on, and it's pretty even, I would say. So like the most obvious one is Undead versus Human right now.
Just a little follow-up. Orc versus Night Elf. A lot of people see that as problematic as well. You do not?
Well, problem is I don't really play Blade Master versus Night Elf. I play some cheeses with CORSAIR and so on. But based on what I've seen, for example, Lean playing versus all these Night Elves, you have to play a bit better with Orc to beat Night Elf at the moment, I would say. It's definitely doable, but I'm not sure. It's hard to comment for me because I don't play Blade myself.
Okay.
Could we just specify if it's because like when I say it's problematic, it's not just about like the top level pro games. It's also just like the matchup at all levels or just as a matchup. So it doesn't necessarily have to be imbalanced at the very top level, in my opinion, to be problematic still. Like Night Elf against Orc, for example.
Yeah, that's probably a discussion we should get into later, like which area of play should be considered. This is probably where I have an extreme opinion, but let's, for now, for simplicity's sake, just go with the problematic matchups and maybe, your interpretation of what that ranges from. Carson, what's your take on this?
Orc versus Night Elf, favored for Night Elf. Undead versus Human, favored for Undead. And Orc versus Human, favored for Orc. I would say Orc versus Human being the closest of those three, and Night Elf versus Orc being the furthest of those three. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think you can make an argument, like I think it was Starbuck earlier, that Human versus Orc, maybe the gap is closing. Maybe it was Leon, actually. The gap is closing a little bit with Human figuring their shit out a little bit, building a few more farms, all that shit. But yeah, I think it's still definitely Orc favored.
All right, and Leon, what's your take?
I would say Undead against Human. That's all.
Okay. I think we all agree Undead versus Human is a problem. I certainly agree with as well. I'm an Undead player, but that does not blind me from the truth. I'm kind of surprised that you guys were saying so few things. I would also say Night Elf versus Orc, favoring the Night Elf, mainly in terms of ease of execution. I think if both play it perfectly, it's fairly even, although still
Wait, you can say that about every Night Elf matchup, Remo. What do you mean?
Well,
all right.
I mean, the truth's the truth. But But still, Night Elf favored. I think the gap has closed a lot. People were mentioning Lin. He's been playing amazingly at some times, but it seems also very fluctuating. Sometimes it's working really well, and then sometimes he loses against 4 Night Elves in a row. So I would also go with that. And also Orc versus Human. I think if the Orc plays it really, really, really well, aka focus on a good day, or Lin most of the time, I still think this looks really rough. You guys say the gap is closing. I don't know how much personal experience goes into this. I guess it's also a question of each player, each observer of the game. Do you consider pro games or personal games or, I don't know, other sources? For me, it's mostly watching pro games, and when I see Lin playing, especially Lin playing most of his games, but also Focus, it seems really rough for Human in my eyes. So it was Undead versus Human. I'm writing all this down. Orc versus Human, I would say. And what else? Night Elf v Orc. Yeah. So it seems like we agree for the most part, especially Undead versus Human. We all know. Nobody's mentioning Night Elf versus Undead. There has been some evidence there as well lately. 1-0 and Happy absolutely wrecking everyone. I've definitely seen some difficulty there for the Night Elves. I myself am not 100% convinced yet that it is very Undead favored. Starshaped. This was not your take, I take it.
I think it's one of those things where I haven't been super active lately, so I can kind of take a step back and kind of like you said, kind of just watch the game. And as long as you're not being like too personally involved, it's easier for me to say that it's not like a super problematic matchup. I hate the matchup. I hate it personally, but like viewed as a whole, I think it's slightly Undead favored for sure, but it's like not a huge problem, and there are different ways to play, especially with this patch might change a few things. But the big issue for me has always been, ever since these patches, that Undead can like play one base or expansion at tier 1 or expansion at tier 2, and they're like all equally viable. And it's a very frustrating matchup to play, because if you like miss scout once, you lose if you don't scout the expansion timing. And it's very one-dimensional for Night Elf. It's like very boring. It's always just the keeper mass air stuff for the most part. But that doesn't have to do with balance. It's just like it's not a fun matchup.
All right, fair enough. We got the intros out of the way. I think what everyone's area of concern is. All right, boys, I think we can jump into it, and I got the patch notes open. We're going to reveal them here to the viewers.
Shout out Wiz, the first of many wines in the chat today.
Lightly.
Indeed.
I mean, we can talk more about that specifically, because it's an interesting matchup, and there are definitely there are some things, if you play Night Elf, you'll meet certain Undead players at like a lower MMR that'll play these super abusive strategies that you never see in the pro games. And then you ask yourself, why don't other people do this? Like the Maskarg expansion style, for example. So I can definitely understand Wiz's. It's a frustrating matchup on the ladder for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, later on, we can freely dive into that when either Night Elf or Undead comes up. But here we are. We're getting into the nitty gritty right now. These are the patch notes. I think we can ignore the custom campaigns bit. This is nice and all, but that's not what we're here for. We're here about balance talks. So, Human is going to start things off, but firstly, there's one small general change. Tavern Revive cost increased by 5% at all levels. Who wants to take this one first? I would say we go through all of these bullet points one by one. You guys, when you want to say something about it, obviously you can. If you don't want to, you can just skip it. So go ahead.
I can take the Tavern.
Yeah.
All right, go.
I think this benefits Elf and Undead more because of Moonwells and statues, and it's way worse for Human and Orc, I would say, because it's harder to get mana backup. For example, like basically increase the cost, so it will be even more expensive to get that hero back to the fighting shape. Meanwhile, the Night Elf, basically, when they buy it, they just heal with the Moonwells.
Yeah, one thing that Neo interestingly pointed out, the math as far as this goes, for a level 10 hero, this is 50 gold more. So if you ask me, this doesn't seem like that
Oh, it's not
much
significant.
of a thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
let's
like
go.
it
skip
seems
then.
like it's really minor. Maybe just to linger on this a little bit, I've always felt like being able to constantly rebuy over and over. It seems kind of weird, game design wise. Like if you happen to have enough expansions and enough resources, you can just tab and res over and over. If you guys know other games like Dota 2, there's a limit to buybacks. I think they're at 7 minutes cooldown. Have you guys ever thought about ways to address this endless tavern ability and what could be done about it?
I had the exact same, like when I read this patch note, I thought the same thing. It's like, well, there are definitely better ways to address the tavern. First of all, I don't think it's an issue really. I mean, in a meta where there's a lot more expansions, it's a lot easier to just like buy tavern revives, I guess. But this is one of those balance points where I'm like, why? Why 5%? Why did they address this at all? It almost feels like they sat in a room and they decided that we have to address this. We have to like add more stuff. What can we do? And it's like, okay, we'll add 5% to tavern. Like, who asked for this and what does this achieve? It feels like a very strange point. One of those where I don't understand where it comes from at all.
Yeah, didn't they, like, in the past, when they did patch, the Blizzard usually wrote their insights?
Yeah. I was gonna say that I really miss it because they did it for a while and now they stopped. I would love to see a dev comment.
Yeah, because
Why?
in general, like, a lot of the things they changed don't make sense at all. So I would like to know what they were
Yeah, true.
thinking, if they were thinking at all.
Especially back in the day with StarCraft 2, they did this really well with laying down their reasoning. I think they don't do it anymore, firstly because of severely limited team, lacking manpower, and also this opens them up to a lot of revealed incompetence and ignorance. And I think they don't want that. Like, what if they want to make a change and then it's like some stupid reason and then they catch even more flack? I think this is them.
Yeah.
What's it called? Playing it safe, I suppose.
Yeah, you keep your silence and you look smarter. But it could also be because I've read that this patch is like 50% already done by the other team, the old team or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe they don't have the comments for those changes, and then it would be weird if they had comments for the ones they decided to add that weren't old. So they just went with not commenting anything. It could be like something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, and now let's start with the real deal.
One thing.
Oh, okay.
Shouldn't don't you guys agree that should probably, like, do you guys think that should be 0%? Or, because I think eventually they're going to work their way up to like 20% increase at all levels. Or do you guys think that's extreme? Do you guys just think there shouldn't even be a thing? Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that it's not enough? Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't see
I thought everyone agreed in the scene that tavern revives should cost more. But okay. Oh, interesting.
No.
Yeah. I would love it. My crazy suggestion, and I've been laughed at this before, but here it goes. I think Tavern Revive should be possible, but I think it shouldn't be endless. I think there should be a limit. So I think it would be cool, would be kind of exciting if you had 2 Tavern Revives per game, but nothing more. 2 and you're done. Kind of like.
What if it increases each time? So like the first time it's the first rate, and then it increases by 10% every time, or something like that, to disincentivize.
But that sounds like it's difficult to code, so we don't want to overwork it.
All right, we're good.
All right, and now we start with human, the big worry child of the bunch. We have one of the best ones in Europe here in our call. It's Leon. So, Leon, you are our resident here. Our first change is the blacksmith lumber cost gets decreased by 10 from 60 to 50. How relevant is this? How helpful is this? What's your initial take on this?
Well, we human players like to play a lot of rifleman against orc, for example. So we have a fast tech build against orc, which means we have 10 lumber more on tier 2. I think it's a cool thing. I mean, if I'm going for a fast expansion, I can build my blacksmith a bit earlier. It's a small thing, I think. It's not huge. It's just a small buff, I would say. So 10 wood is small, but well, it's something, right? So yeah, better than nothing, I would say.
Starbuck, you've also played quite a bit of human in tournaments and off race and all that, and with random, obviously. What do you make of this?
I mean, 10 wood. I don't think it's super significant, and I don't think it doesn't really make a difference, in my opinion. But it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It's just 10 wood.
And Starshaped, you were known in the past to shake your fists at all humans sometimes. Does this make your blood boil, or What do you think?
Actually, when I like thought up my own patch a while back, my suggestion was to nerf buff it to 40 wood instead of 60. So I think this is on the right path because it gives you more flexibility for both styles. If you're doing a rifle caster tech, it helps a lot to have a cheaper blacksmith, and if you're expanding, it helps a lot to have a cheaper blacksmith. So maybe you can get those upgrades going a bit faster. So it's just a general buff to the whole race, and I think they can definitely go down to 40, in my opinion.
Carson?
Yeah, 40 would make sense, yeah.
Yeah, like obviously it doesn't change much, but I think this touches on a bigger point. Both the 5% for the tavern, the 10 lumber here, the 10 peasant HP increase, and the next thing which might come down, which might be like a very specific thing that I don't know. But the thing with patch notes is it is nice to change things very small values at a time, and that's what a developer like Valve or Riot would do because they're patching every month to 3 months. But the fact that we only get a patch every 8 years, whatever the fuck, they can't really do this, even though this is the right way to do patches technically, small values at a time until you eventually reach the right value so that you don't break anything entirely like Cryptlord and Keeper and all that stuff. It kind of sucks because then we have to wait till they change it slightly again till we eventually get an actual change. So it's the right way to do it, but the way we're viewing it is like we need changes now. So I'll just tag that here, which that'll probably be a point that comes up 20
It's
times in these patch
also
notes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But like, there are two issues here. One is that nobody uses the PTR. I never do, and so I don't know how good the feedback is. And this is a very like schizophrenic patch in that sense because like, okay, we have 10 wood like from 60 to 50 here, and then like the tank is completely changed. So there's no
True.
theme of like slightly changing the game. There's a few really small changes and then these huge changes all in the same patch, and then you don't know what's affecting what. So it's like it feels kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Really good point brought up by Carson. I think we talked about this in the past, like how incremental changes on a regular basis could be really good. I also agree with that being logical, but I love the big, bold changes. One game you don't know, Carson, is Dota 2. There, they sometimes go ham crazy, ham sandwich, and I love that kind of stuff as well. But, if there's a team after to mob up the mess, if there is a mess, which, again, is a problem for us. And yeah, I also think this could be going down to 40. I still have the dream that perhaps one day Pally rifles can be played somewhere. This could help there. This helps human in general. We all know human needs help. So yeah, Blacksmith, I think we appreciate. So, moving on. Peasant HB. Starbuck, will you be the first one?
Yeah, sure. Well, you have to think about this in more general context. I think this was aimed basically at the early game harass versus orc. But, for example, now I didn't test this, but I'm interested if the level 3 Warden or Dreadlord Carrier Swarm kills the peasants in 2 waves. This is my big question for this one. If not, I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's a pretty big buff, I would say, if 2 carrier swarms do not kill the peasants. But I welcome this change anyway. But yeah, this is my biggest threat, I guess, to the overall gameplay, like for other races as well. And also, when Warden, for example, reaches level 5, I know that she has to only hit the peasants twice. Once after she casts the Fan of Knives level 3. So does this mean that she has to hit them twice now, or like?
Yeah, it does. It does.
It does. Yeah, that's.
Wait, how
I'm
much
not
damage
sure.
how much damage is fan level 3?
I want to say
Somebody
it's,
could pull up the
100.
Wikipedia.
I thought it was 215, but I guess I'm wrong.
No, it's like
probably.
110 or something, isn't it? It's very low.
I don't
Level
know.
3 fan
Level
is
3.
definitely less than 200, right? It must be.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
for
I don't know.
I'm saying 110. I might be totally wrong.
I mean, no, it almost one-shots peasants. Almost, but not quite.
Oh, well,
190,
maybe?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Somebody in chat said that carrier level 2 should kill the peasants with just double swarm.
It says 190, but I might be on the wrong website.
Yeah. On Wikipedia, it's all listed. I think already now, depending on the Warden's attack damage, I think already now, it doesn't always one-shot the peasants after fan 3, but most of the time.
Yeah,
But this would be a
depends on
bigger
the item.
nerf to the Warden. That's true. But I think there's more at stake than just the Warden play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even like Shockwave and Chainwave. I mean, I think in general, for me, this is a good change. Yeah, that's it from my side.
All right, Starshape.
I like it, but this is one of those changes where I get a bit worried because it's clearly made to address one matchup, but it might affect a lot of others. And I'm just thinking like these kind of stupid like tower rushes or something, or like 3 militia rushes against Night Elf. Like having a slightly stronger peasant might actually change quite a bit, even though it's meant to address a defensive problem for human. So I don't know if it might be better to give them some sort of like magic damage reduction, like some Elun's Grace type ability, instead of giving them more hit points. But then again, you know, the problem is like the skeletons and ghouls and stuff, and they're doing physical attacks. Although I guess, you know, Coil and Nova would be slightly less stronger if they have some sort of protection. But it's a good idea. They definitely need some sort of help. And this is a very small change. Like I was worried maybe it would be like 250, 260. That'd be too much, I think. This is a good start. See what happens.
Carson.
Yeah, just one more thing I'll tag so that I don't have to talk like, 5 minutes on each small point here. It's just when there's small changes, it's very, very important, at least for them when they're patching, to like think about what the small change does. Like when we had the, I think, 20 HP to Fiends to make it so you couldn't one-shot Fiends with Banished Bolt any longer. That was a nice change that was achieved through an incremental HP buff. So I hope they're thinking about this when they're buffing. I think the same thing with Rifleman, like Coil Nova, some level didn't one-shot Rifleman any longer. So when they're adding like 10 HP to this, losing 20 HP here, I hope that Blizzard or whoever's patching, whatever it is thinking about these things. And that'll probably be true with a lot more points as we go down the list.
Yeah, and I just forgot to add, like before this patch, I always wanted the peasants to get more HP, but that it would be upgradable on tier 1, for example, on Lumber Mill. Like they added the wood, I think that was a really nice change. So if you could like upgrade, or maybe even on the Town Hall, you can upgrade peasants for like plus 10 or plus 15 HP, or I don't know, 100 gold, 50 wood, something like this. I think if you, for example, if you play Expo, you are more, there's a bigger incentive to upgrade that. But if you're playing one base, then you don't need to, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Leon, what's your take?
Yeah, I think what Starbuck just suggested is a cool idea, because I think it will be mainly affect the fast expansion thing, and maybe like Starshaped said, the tower potential she's plays. So I think it's cool that they didn't switch it up too much. I think it's a good start just to see how it will affect the matchups, and I like it because I sometimes find myself in big trouble against orcs sometimes, or when I'm doing expansion, I have against every race that kind of problem. So maybe it helps. So I'm pretty optimistic about that.
Speaking of peasant health and stuff, I came up with an idea a couple months ago, and I'm gonna tell it to you guys. I think this might help a lot. What about this? What if peasants, when you click call to arms, right, and they walk to the town hall, what if they don't have to be melee form to pick up weapons, but they have like 150 range, or 175, or whatever? I think that would help a ton. What do you guys think?
Definitely help a lot. Could be interesting. Yeah, I think that'd be good. Would that be too crazy? What is 150 range? I guess it's not that much, eh?
I think melee is 100, right?
Right.
People told me that. I believe that's
like a huntress, range.
Huntress is 225.
Okay, so in between those two. Gotcha.
I guess, yeah, why not? Just to make it a bit faster or like more flexible.
Yeah, because it's oftentimes annoying, especially when you get harassed by wolves in the main base. You use the peasant, you use militia form, and then they walk around awkwardly, they block each other, and they have to get right next to the town hall. I think if you had just a little bit more range, this would be a huge quality of life improvement. But
shout out Xlord.
Speed up the early game as well by using, like people do that already, call to arms on one peasant just to make them move a bit faster before they build something. That'd be easier to do that type of thing as well.
True.
Min-maxing it. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Hitman.
All right, next one. I think this one's going to be a bit controversial. Siphon Mana Blood Mage change.
Control
a
magic.
A much hated spell in the community. Starshaped, you sound eager. What's going through
You
your
skipped
I
control
said
magic.
I said you skipped control magic.
I'm sorry. I did skip control magic. Yeah, also a big deal going from tier 2 to tier 3 revert of
It's a
an
huge
old
deal,
change.
Remo. Get hyped. It's a huge deal.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, this affects mostly the matchup against Orc and also Human Mirror, I believe. Carson, did you celebrate when you saw this?
Dude, it was so busted. Why was this ever a thing on tier 2? It was ridiculous. Like, oh, my Farseer is just useless now? I mean, I know I sung and all that stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Get GM before you talk. I know. Dude, it was so fucking busted. It was unbelievable. Why is my hero just useless? I hated this shit. Yeah, it's good. It's a good change. Breakers buff their armor, buff their damage. I don't give a fuck. But as long as you get rid of this control magic bullshit, we're good to go.
All right, counter take, Leon.
Well, I think it's cool for Human Mirror because I think what we just witness every Human Mirror game is mass fabricas and water elemental ping pong. So there will be some, I think, new idea to go for tier 3 or something. In Orc against Orc, of course, magic control was always a thing. I think when I'm playing Rifleman, I'm not necessarily need to play Spellbreakers. So there are options to not to go for magic control. So I think it's quite okay. Of course, that's a big nerf because magic control is very strong, as Carson said, against Farseer. So it's I think it's such a good feeling to just overtake the level 3 wolves. So I will miss it, but I think it's a nerf I can yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I think if you need to buff breakers in other ways to make them still viable in the matchup, I think that's fine. Like I said, damage or armor, I think they've been changing the armor around a little bit. I think that's totally fine. It's just the control magic was stupid. It was stupid.
Agreed. Like, it's so silly how one ability can just make a hero half useless in case of the boss here. Starbuck, how do you feel? You played both.
Yeah.
You played both sides of this matchup. Orc, human. How did you feel about Breaker's control magic?
Oh, it's such a relief, honestly. I think this is the biggest change with the Ultra Vision as well that I like from this patch. It makes sense. I mean, having tier 2 stealing everything summon wise is just kind of busted. Yeah, it made, as you said, it made Farseer half useless. So I like it.
Starshape.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely feels like a tier 3 spell. Like it's the power level feels like it should be tier 3. And it definitely feels like it's too strong at tier 2, especially with Brilliant Sora.
Yeah, I agree. I in general think humans should be incentivized more to go tier 3. I think we see human being stuck on tier 2 way too much. Orcs and humans most of the time are the races that are stuck on tier 2. Dude, imagine if this was a case for more races. Imagine if also Night Elves and Undeads were only playing tier 2. I feel like we're missing out on so many awesome games and strategic variants with human being stuck on tier 2 so often. So I'm all for encouraging humans more to go tier 3. Control Magic would do that. I think if it's tier 3, it could even be strengthened to cost less mana or less transfer rate, whatever. But yeah, this just makes sense because, you know, Farseer, Sag. All right, now we have the Blood Mage Siphon mana. Starshaped. Will you rejoice?
I've said this for like I don't know how many years, but this is like Siphon mana is like the best spell in the game. I'm so glad this is getting nerfed. It's so dumb how easy it is to use and how efficient it is and how cheap it is and how like you can just spam it constantly. Now I'm not saying Blood Mage is like imbalanced. I'm not saying that the spell itself is really necessarily imbalanced. It's just kind of really frustrating to play against. It's not fun. And there's like no skill involved at all. You're just constant like you never have to think about when you're going to use it or how far away the hero is because the range is 1,000,000 miles. So you just spam that spell on the panda whatever over and over again. So I'm glad any nerf to Siphon makes me happy.
Leon, how much did you play Siphon? What do you feel about this?
Well, I think I play Blood Mage second. Just think sometimes against Night Elf because the panda is very strong, of course. And of course, when I'm playing MK first, having a lot of bolts is also quite nice. I think the nerf is okay-ish. I think Blood Mage is not the biggest problem for other races, in my opinion. I never saw a game lost just because of the Blood Mage, but of course it's a strong spell, I think. And I just need to try it out. I think I can't really tell what the change really does, if that's enough or if that's what they want to aim for is accomplished by that. But I think it's okay. I need to try it. And Blood Mage second is still, I think, a choice then. So it's a good change.
Carson?
The only bummer about this, I do think Siphon is really, really good, obviously, in Human Against Elf. But the only bummer about this is with that Blacksmith change and with the next change on the list, which is the Holy Light, we were kind of a little bit steering towards Pally Rifles. I think you mentioned that as well at Remo Demo. And this might steer people slightly away from that. So it's the only bummer about this change. But I do think it should still be tweaked, Siphon Mana, yeah.
Starbuck.
Yeah, I concur with all the points the guys made. It's one of the best spells, I think. So either nerfing the amount of mana it drains or the range would be a good idea as well. So I like it.
All right, I'm going to be the black sheep here. I really disagree with this change. I know lots of people in the community welcome it. So do you. I know it can be very frustrating change, or very frustrating ability. I mean, everything that's mana burn is kind of annoying. But Blood Mage, I think, is a super cool hero. He's very niche. He only gets played against Night Elf. And I think this might be too much of a detriment to him. Also, if you think about it, Siphon Mana, if you use it also on allies, first you use Siphon to steal mana, and then you use Siphon on your ally. That's not 10 mana more. That's 20 mana more, kind of, if you think about it. And the Blood Mage, like, I think we should be nerfing heroes that are too strong. I strongly encouraged Lich nerf, for example. I think it's, way overdue. But the Blood Mage, he's played in only one matchup. And I think this is the biggest thing, there's also counterplay to the Siphon. It can be annoying if you're stuck in slow, and then you can't move. All your mana gets siphoned on the Panda. Yeah, it sucks. It doesn't feel good. But there's ways to counteract that. You can maybe have Dryad Dispel, but it's kind of unreliable because of mana constraints. But there's also Anti-Magic. There's also Invul Potion to break it. There's also Entangle. Normally, top elves nowadays, when they see a Blood Mage, they always reserve the Entangle for when they use Siphon. Then you use Entangle, you cancel it. Maybe even a Zeppelin to counter. But that's kind of weird with slow and everything. So I really disagree with this one, I gotta say. Perhaps a little bit biased by me because I love the Blood Mage. I would love to see him more. And I think this is a nerf to an already kind of weak hero in the one matchup where he is played. There's counterplay to him. And then again, especially if you look towards Asia, on the top level, Blood Mage isn't played much anymore. Only on some maps, I think, concealed quite a bit. But mostly it's Panda second nowadays. Yeah, that's mostly it. So I think this is, I don't agree with this. I think this is a nerf on a weak hero. The ability is super strong. I agree. Siphon Mana is super strong, but Banish is meh. Flame Strike is okay. Only if you get super high level, I think Flame Strike is pretty sick. So, yeah, I gotta say, I disagree. I guess that's only me.
Until you gotta play Pally Rifles on ladder all the time, Remo Demo. I'm gonna snipe you on ladder.
Bro, I'm gonna fast expand every time. Let's bring it on.
Oh, right. I forgot Undead was broken now. Right. I forgot about that.
Absolutely true. All right. You guys want to respond to that, or should we just go to the next one?
I think you have a point, Remo Demo. I think either side. I mean, it's a small change regardless, but maybe you're right. Maybe you're not, but maybe you are.
Alrighty, Holy Light. This is buff to the Paladin, reducing the cooldown, which was already quite low, on 5 seconds. Holy Light now going down to 4 seconds. This is quite something. If I may put this one in as well. Infi said this is ridiculous and possibly game-breaking. Just as a side note. Starbuck, what do you think about that one?
Wow. I'm not sure what to think, honestly. But the most relevant is obviously versus Undead. I didn't give much thought to this one. So I want to hear what others have to say, and then I will respond, I think.
Leon, you have the most experience with the Paladin. What do you think?
Well, I think it's very good when you're chasing the Lich. And sometimes you got the moment where you have to wait for your next Holy Light. When you got level 3 against level 2, for example, that's a good situation for that kind of buff. And of course, if I'm playing against Undead in late game, the Archmage gets nuked and I can heal my Archmage a bit earlier, which is very good. I don't know how that will how much that will affect it, because as I said before, I need to try it out, but I think it's a good way to make this Paladin way more powerful in a way, also maybe as a first hero. But we have to see if it's too powerful. I don't know. I can't really tell. But I like it. It's a good direction, especially maybe to choose it more against Undead. And yeah, we've got to see. I'm pretty excited to try that out, actually.
Wait, Starshaped, right? What do you think?
Yeah, this is one of those. I don't understand why they did this. To me, it's a bit of a feels bad just because like it's all Holy Light's always been better than Death Coil, and they're like the same spell kind of. So it feels weird that it's instant, it's cheaper, and now it has a much lower cooldown. So it's just better in every single way. But I mean, if you're going to address the human versus undead matchup, then Paladin is a good hero to go to because, like you guys said, it's mostly used against undead. Unless we start seeing a bunch of Pally rifles, but yeah, addressing the Paladin could help that matchup. But to me, it feels like the wrong way to go. We don't need to buff. Holy Light is already in a vacuum one of like a really good spell. It has amazing stats compared to Death Claw, so I don't think we should nerf or buff it further.
I see it similar to you. I also feel like Holy Light isn't the thing that needs a buff. I think Pally in general could need some help. Do you have an idea? Have you thought about that perhaps? How the Pally could receive help in other ways?
One of my thoughts I had was like Devotion Aura, if that could also give a slight anti-magic effect, not just armor. Maybe that would be something cool. Because like Holy Light is already an amazing spell. So if we're going to buff the Paladin, if we're going to help human with something that the Paladin can do, then maybe it should be one of the other spells. Or like if Divine Shield could have some sort of passive ability when you activate it. But I wouldn't address Holy Light at all. I
think Magic Resistance Aura could be kind of interesting. That'd be something new, something unique. Would be kind of insane that only human has magic resistance though, but yeah. Carson?
Yeah, well, it's a big change, right? Like 20%. That's like, look through these patch notes and try to find a 20% change in something. Oh, and don't look directly below this two things. So mechanical critter doesn't really matter, but it's a big change for such a crucial part of the game, a hero, you know? Yeah, tanks are broken. Don't do that to me, Remo. We'll get to tanks, okay? I don't know why they removed tanks from the game completely, but they did. Yeah, 20%. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a hero. It is an important hero in a particular matchup. But I want to see more Pally rifles. I want to see it. So I don't care. Buff Paladin. Buff him. And please, humans, stop going Aura. Go Divine Shield. You guys don't know what the hell you're doing. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I will add my thoughts now. If one thing this will incentivize is Paladin rifles. We will for sure see it more on the ladder if this gets through. But this is mostly aimed versus undead matchup. So I think we don't need this. I feel like it might be too strong. What did Infi have to say about it? Can you explain more, Remo?
I just got a rough translation over Discord where people were trying to translate from his stream. First of all, he said that tanks are completely garbage, and whoever is designer at Blizzard, their wife must have cheated on them with a human player, hence the tank punishment. That was the first comment.
Wow.
And the second one was that Holy Light
Todd, what do you have to say?
Seems to be completely busted now and super OP. But I can't go into more detail than that. Sorry, what were you saying?
That is really based from Infi. What a guy. Jesus. All right, well, I mean, I'll just tip my hat to Infi, and whatever he says, I believe. He is one of the pros that if he says something, I will believe it.
I think he was also kind of trolling, but whatever. All right, if I may say this, I already stated this in my video and stuff. I would love to see more Pally first. I think human is in dire need of good first hero alternatives. Archmage always. Of course, we've been seeing a bit of MK recently. Thank God. Before 6 months ago, we never saw MK. Now we see a bit. I think it would be cool if Pally also was first hero material. I think this Holy Light change doesn't quite achieve that, because normally in the early game, it doesn't make much of a difference if it's a 5-second cooldown or a 4-second cooldown. But for the late game, this could be sick, dude. This is a 400 heal on level 3 every 4 seconds. If you make it to level 5, a 600 heal every 4 seconds. 65 mana, instant cast. And maybe if you have a good game, especially this guy goes for Undead, you pick up the boots, you run with the pally. Dude, you got nukes for days. Every 4 seconds, you're nuking like crazy. I think this has the potential of being really busted in few cases, whereas not so good for the early game. Like I said, I would love to see the pally be more of a viable early game choice, which is why my suggestion is to increase his movement speed, to make him better at chasing, to make him better at, swinging his hammer at units and forcing them away. Move speed is always a good stat, always. And if you look at Warcraft 3 history, normally the first heroes have fast move speed almost all the time. But yeah, this could definitely be a super strong change, but I feel like there's a better way to go. All right, next one, Polymorph. I don't think we have to talk too much about that one. 20 mana decrease.
Whoa. Yeah, maybe we do.
Wait, Carson wants to talk about it. Carson, let's talk about it.
No, I have no comments at all. I've never seen it played in a game. 4v4? Any 4v4ers in the chat? Anyone? This call play 4v4? Maybe that's where it's played. Who knows?
Leon, is Polymorph ever relevant? Does this make any difference, or is this as irrelevant as the second Avatar movie?
Well, when I'm very far ahead,
You gave it a 7.5. Sorry, Leon. You gave it a 7.5, Remo. What the hell?
I couldn't come up with anything. I couldn't come up with anything better. But it was a 6.5. Mind you.
Okay, 6.5. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I think when I'm very far ahead, and sometimes I have master sorceresses, which is very unusual because you got to get tier 3 and you need to get the upgrade, and then it's so easy to dispel. So I think there's another change needed to make that more powerful, or at least viable to play, because the way you need to upgrade that for the late game and make it useful, it's too easy to counter, actually. So Giants, for example, when I want to polymorph bears, of course, they get dispelled by the Dryads very fast. I think it shouldn't be shouldn't be too strong anyways. I don't know if everyone wants to see a lot of sheeps in the front line not getting dispelled, or, so I think, I don't know how to make this spell more useful. I think it's something, but I think it doesn't change anything.
Starbuck?
The only time I used Polymorph was in 2 versus 2 when I played versus Grunts and Rifles, Paladin and GC. And they had no dispel, no other freaking cases, so it's completely irrelevant to change, especially for only 20 mana. So it just makes no sense.
Starshaped?
I disagree kind of a bit. Well, I mean, this is one of those interesting points where if you just look at the mana buff, like it's just 20 mana, but isn't the cap on Master Casters 400 mana? So this effectively means that you can do double polymorph instantly.
If you turn slow off.
If you turn slow off, you have 400 mana, you can start to fight with double polymorph instead of just one polymorph. Maybe that does something. I'm not saying it will, but I mean, this might be one of those, like Carson talked about, like maybe they obviously had that in mind, that they know the cap is 400, so that's why they went to 200. So it's not just a small change in their head, it's like making you be able to do double polymorph. I think that's what they're thinking.
I mean, you need tier 3 for this. Basically, every race you're playing against is gonna have some sort of answer to it already. So it's not like timing based or anything.
I agree. I'm just saying. It's a bit more than it looks like, because it lets you to do double.
Yeah, a good point though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the primary thinking here was, well, polymorph gets never used. How about we buff it a bit? Maybe it gets used. I think it was probably as simple as that, which generally I agree with most of the time. I would love to see more units which are underused. I would love to see especially more heroes which are underused. But when it comes to specific spells, I feel like there's some spells we don't want to see too much. Cyclone, for example, annoying. Like, in general, when everything is slowed and you can't control your shit, that's annoying. Cyclone, annoying. Even slow, annoying. Cripple, annoying. Necromancer is a prime example. Also, Mass, Skelly, Wagon Push, boring. And I feel like we don't want to make polymorph too strong. We don't just want to have sheep running around everywhere and you can't counter it. As Starbuck said, there's lots of counters, but, I always feel like Warcraft is a more fun game when you can actually use your units. But that's just me.
I also think we need to... I would love to give me more reasons to go for tier 3 in some matchups. And I think, as Starbuck already said, like having master upgraded casters is just viable in some matchups. So it would be awesome to see. I would love to have some more opportunities to play. But I think at the moment the most of the time I'm stuck on tier 2 because we have everything we need actually at the moment. Now we got a nerf, magic control, for example, on tier 3, but we need something like, especially also against Night Elf, sometimes like a reason to go for tier 3, of course, against mountain giants and stuff. But I think it would be nice to see some different approaches, because also maybe nerfs, but then more buffs on tier 3, whatever. But yeah, I think this polymorph is quite useless because you want to slow. That's so powerful, and polymorph is, get dispelled too much. So yeah.
All right, not a big change, anyways. Polymorph. Next change, also not too big. Critter. Anybody want to say anything about that?
Buff the little guy. I like it. Yeah, let's see more of those suckers. I think you should give him something like Burrow or whatever. Can Orc get invisible wards all over the map with one unit, but human spends 50 gold on an item and it just gets killed? I think, yeah, buff it. Give it 3 times movement speed. I want to see more of them.
Yeah, you can spawn the dog. He's super fast,
Yeah, exactly. I guess you can mass teleport to it, which is an argument against them, which might be a little broken if,
When you do mechanical critter on Titaners, can it spawn what's it called, the skink? Because that's faster than normal critters.
Wow, Imba.
GG.
We're going to need a new PTR for this.
Make them all flying. That'd be wicked.
Oh. Yeah, mechanical critter, yeah, it's a little better. All right, cool. Now, this is the most confusing of all the changes. The siege engine, aka the tank, gets completely changed. It loses fortified armor, instead now has heavy armor, which makes it much more killable. It can now attack units, not just buildings, and not just air with barrage, but also normal units. But in a trade, it loses half its damage. I repeat, gentlemen, half, from 44 to 22. And barrage is buffed, by the way. But the other 3, huge nerfs. Who wants to take this one?
1 unit less for human. It's very sad to see. I don't know what they thought about it. Sorry, but
yeah.
What I just tried against Happy, for example, to play more tanks against the Skark style. Now as well, that is completely useless. I don't know why. I just don't know why. I don't know. It feels like a troll. I saw your video, Remo, where you showed how the tank is attacking a unit. I'm like, I don't need that. But I don't know.
I think the tank right now, it does 12 damage to medium armor. So,
Jesus.
Yep. Fighting against fiends.
What the hell?
Good times. Starbuck, what do you think?
This is completely stupid. But if I would keep the design and twist it a little bit, a siege engine could serve kind of as a melee unit, but don't reduce the damage. So keep the fortified armor and keep the damage, but make it also attack
mountain
units.
Giants for human. Nice.
I was about to say, isn't this just mountain giants on crack, dude?
So yeah, imagine inner fire tanks melee versus bears and attacking them with siege.
Bro.
Oh, that would be beautiful. Nice idea.
You just cursed all the 1400 MMR and below players who all just use A-click. They're just gonna run up against a wall of tanks every game.
Give them taunt as well, why not?
Otherwise, please, Blizzard, think before you do something. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Carson, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's really stupid. If they're expecting tanks to be used how tanks were used, they're obviously, you get 1 destroyer, leave it in the back of your base. No longer it's possible to use them. You Ancient of Wind, you get 1 Talon, 2 Talons, just like you would before against mass tanks for Fairy Fire, but only now you literally get them for the magic damage, and they're just hard countered. 1 Chim, which is harder said than done. I think the Wind is more an option for Night Elf, so you obviously can't use tanks any longer how they were meant to be used from the beginning. And say what you will about tanks, I like tank games. I like super lame games. I love it when Orc masses towers. I like it when human masses tanks. I like it hit and run games. I like seeing that sort of style. I think it's fun to watch. I think it's fun to play. Maybe not against, but I liked tanks before. Now I think with a few changes, maybe if they made them, see, you could say make it piercing damage, give them increased attack speed, but then you just have a different looking rifleman. So you can't really do that. You have to sort of keep the siege damage, which is a really weird sort of attack type for like almost a melee ranged unit. It's like a breaker range or something like that. But I mean, maybe they're massable. Hey, 2 workshops at and just go for mass tanks. I don't know, man. It's really stupid though. It's very stupid. It's awesome.
What if you give the tanks the Tinker rocket ability?
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about. Pure chaos. Let's go for it.
Starshaped, you're the last to tell us.
I commend the effort. Like, yeah, this is stupid. This is really stupid. But I remember last time we had a discussion when they nerfed the Mountain Giant, and I said that this was kind of bad because they just kind of put it in the dumpster. Like, we're never going to see them ever again. They could have just as well removed them. And back then I said that, I wouldn't mind if tanks were just removed from the game. They're not fun. They're not a good part of the game. Just like Mountain Giants, Double Taunt wasn't good for the game. But instead of just removing them, they're kind of trying to make it a whole new unit, and they failed, catastrophically. But at least they're trying something. Like, they're transforming the entire unit. It's something completely different. And it would have been a much bigger deal if tanks were relevant, but they haven't been for a very long time. Like back in the day, this was like standard meta was mass tanks against Undead, for example. Even against Night Elf was very common.
Oh yes.
So if that was the case now and they did this change, it would just break the game. But since nobody's really using tanks, they might as well experiment with it. And this time they failed, but maybe they'll think of something else. Otherwise, just delete the unit, in my opinion.
In terms of usability, I think I have to disagree with you. I watch lots of pro games. Obviously, I cast them. And we see them there an okay amount. We see them rarely against Night Elf and a little bit more against Undead. And, well, never else anywhere. And I think that's kind of a healthy spot. Like, I think the old tank, like before this patch, I think it was good. Finally, it cost more supply. Finally, it gave more experience when you killed it, because they're freaking hard to kill. I think it's okay if there's lame, annoying shit in the game, as long as it doesn't dominate the meta, and as long as it isn't super strong. But if it's decent, and we see it sometimes, I think it's cool to have in a game.
Yeah.
I don't want to see every game tanks against Undead all the time, like it was in the past. It was kind of cancer. But now, it's like 20% of the time, maybe 15% of the time we see tanks. I think that's okay. I think the tank that we had before this, I think it was in a good spot. That's just my view. I feel like there needs to be no change to the tank.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of because, like, when I'm thinking of recently, like, I remember Sark against X-Lord, I think Rara Land, and he was doing, like, expansion against expansion, and then it's, like, knights and a few tanks to distract. And that's a very cool way to use tanks. That's not just mass tanks. So I guess I agree with you. Like, the way they have been used, it has been fine. That's how they probably should be used, as, like, a tactical device and not a strategy in itself. But I guess I agree. Like, they don't necessarily need to change anything.
Yeah, if anything, I think the barrage buff, I think that's fine. Just buff the barrage for the tank. It's really weak damage. Buff it, why not? But I think the rest can just be kept as it is. I feel like the tank right now is for the first time in 20 years in a healthy place. And now they change it completely. And I think it's so weird the way they change it. They think like, okay, it's weird that it can't attack units. So how about we make it attack units? But of course now it has to do less damage and have different armor. Because, damage and armor is kind of crazy on it. But the tank is slow as shit. And he's got really, really weird range. It's not quite melee. It's 192 range. Like, it's one of the weirdest values in range of the game. That's so that, it's kind of like a battering ram. It runs up to a building, or it slowly drives up to a building, and then it knocks it down slowly, like a battering ram. That is its design. That's how it makes sense. I feel like it makes zero sense as a unit that can attack other units. Yeah, this is a weird one. This is a very strange one. I would be shocked. I would be flustered if this change goes through, because, like, this version is just a joke.
It would be fun to see if it did, though. Like, I want to see what, like, Chainmiko does with this. Like, is there any viability whatsoever? If there's 5% viability, if there's one little pocket strat against one little pocket strat where this works, I at least want to see it. But unfortunately, again, no one plays the PTR, so we won't see it, because this won't go through, because this is stupid.
Well said. All right, next one. Mass teleport. Cooldown increased by 50%, guys. What a huge nerf. Isn't this crazy? Starbuck, is mass teleport even playable anymore?
Of course. But this is very healthy for the game. if you played versus all the races and you had units around and invis them and critters around, basically if you lamed well, there was no way that you could catch up with a human with this cooldown. At least 10 more seconds gives you like a little window to respond to everything. So I welcome this change any time of the day.
Starshape?
I agree. I've always said that Mass Teleport is the best ultimate in the game, and it could probably even be nerfed further than this. It's just that cooldown is so frustrating. In a lot of games, you just instantly win when you get this unlocked. Like it's just if you can play well enough and just lame incredibly with this, you can just win a lot of games as soon as you get level 6 in a very boring way. So yeah, and I think this will also help a lot of like I'm not entirely sure, but like free for all players are probably happy about this, and like 4v4 players maybe if it's like more abused in those game types.
Leon, how happy are you normally when you reach level 6 Archmage?
Very happy. I'm getting a hot coffee and then I'm chilling because often most of the time the mass teleport is so fast again ready that sometimes it doesn't even realize that it can mass teleport again. I think it's a good nerf because also in Human Mirror sometimes you got weird games where you're just mass teleporting everywhere. I think mass teleport is a very good thing as well against laming. I love it when I'm getting lamed, and when I'm reaching level 6, it's finally no big deal anymore.
No more lames.
No more lames. No lames. I think that's the beautiful thing. But yeah, I think the nerf is very. It's okay because it's not something where I would say, "Oh my god, as a human player now I can't win any game anymore," because I don't know. I don't have mass teleport that often, and if I use it, it's most of the time good against laming. And of course, if you have some strategies against Night Elf, whatever, like trying to do some pressure. But yeah, I think the nerf is very good.
Carson?
Good change. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I think Mass Teleport is super crazy, one of the best ults in the game as well. I think it's crazy that it's super high value. Like you can almost always you can use this. Like if you're smart enough and positioning well enough. So it's extremely good in its own right. You can always use it. It has low cooldown and it has low mana as well. 100 mana, I think, right? It is. I think this cooldown is still way too low. I think it should be way higher. And I just want to hear a number from you guys. What do you think would be the right number for cooldown? If you had the choice, all right, to make it balanced, kind of, in terms of ultimate, what cooldown would you give it?
45.
40.
40, yeah, 40.
40 to 50. One number, okay, 50. Better to be safe.
All right. I would have gone with 90 seconds.
What
As
the
always, the Undead will
Gosh.
destroy the humans.
Then you might as well just pick Brilliant Star level 3.
All right, Mortar Team hit points increases by 20. This looks small. Is it just small or is it big? Starshape, what do you think?
I'm furious because the siege unit that needs a buff is the glaive thrower, or the game thrower as we call it, the worst unit in the game. So until I see a buff to that unit, I don't want to see any buff to any other siege unit in the game. Got to first buff the glaive thrower. But yeah, this is, I mean, the Mortar Team is already the best siege unit in the game. I don't know. Maybe this is a special number, like Carson's been talking about. Maybe this now withstands a combo or something.
It is.
Is it all right? What is it, Carson? Is it?
I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's is it DK3 Lich 3?
No.
One shot more. There's some combination that
that's
one-shotted
definitely-
mortar teams before.
No.
Was it not? Am I wrong?
Coil Nova increases in 50 increments.
Okay. So this doesn't change that. I thought it was like just at the threshold at a certain level of Coil Nova. Well, I'm wrong.
If there was some kind of 75 damage, it would work that way.
Wait, so they're just doing this arbitrarily? That is just random. God, this fucking game sucks. Well, yeah. Well, I guess it doesn't mean much then. Okay, continue. Sorry, Starship.
Yeah, no, that was well. Like, it's already the best unit, best siege unit. Well, I guess it's like a double-edged sword because you can buff it, but it can also get targeted by spells. But it's also average move speed, which is much, much, much better than anything else. So that definitely does not need a buff. It's already the best siege unit.
Don't you think there's a case to be made that human is weak at the moment and they could need some buffs in general?
But not mortar teams. What are, like that doesn't address the problematic matchups. Like they're already fine against Night Elf, and they're not really used against Undead. I don't think.
Against Banshees?
Are they against Banshees? Yeah, I guess. But like that's probably not the right buff needed. I would say.
Okay, Leon, what do you think?
Ooh, yeah, well, I think the biggest problem I have when I'm playing Waters against Undead, for example, I think that's the most crucial thing. Most of the time, Coil Nova just kills them. So that's quite heavy to like try to fight against Undead. I think 20 HP doesn't change anything in that fact, but I don't know if it's more about like nerfing some Undead things to make it more viable as a human sometimes in a certain moment in that matchup, because I don't think that will change anything, this mortar HP thing. But yeah, I don't know. 20 HP more, I take it. Maybe get them again fortified as tanks had, so we have this unit which can just sit in the base and kill something. But no, I think it's okay. But I don't think it's something which is giving me more opportunities to play against Undead, for example, with models.
Starbuck, how relevant is
Yeah,
this?
this is again one of those random changes that I would love if Blizzard could explain their process thinking here. But I mean, it's like whatever, 20 more, I guess. When they get Nova'd or Impaled or Breath of Fire, they die a little slower or something.
Yeah, I think it's a small buff. Like, honestly, I think Night Elf is a bit favored against human at the moment, and I hope Starshaped doesn't leave the call right now. I think this helps a little bit against, Panda running in, Drunken Haze, Dryads in the back and stuff. It's small. I think human can need some small buffs here and there, although Starshaped is correct that more teams aren't relevant in all matchups, and especially at the moment against Undead Fast Expo. Normally, we don't see them. All right, but that's it with human. This last one down here.
Thoughtless, though. It just feels completely thoughtless.
Yeah.
Like I just don't get these changes. Like we need a proper patch to fix our game where the meta is just in this fucking weird stage, and they're giving us 20 HP buffs on a unit that already that 10 HP buff, I guess, is why they did that, because they did give it a little HP buff before from like 345 to 360, right? So that was a great change. The Coil Nova level 2 doesn't one shot them, but this is just like, really, that's what your manpower is going into. This
I feel like honestly this change was mostly pretty good. Carson, you don't think so?
It just feels like, why? Okay, why? Sure, it's fine. It's fine.
Right.
It's fine. It's great.
Anyways, let's wrap it up,
love it.
boys. We got 3 more races. We got 3 more races to go. Lastly, for human, I want to open it up to you now, the floor. What changes are you missing? Have you thought about some human changes that you think would be good changes for human? Of course, we all know human suffers against Undead, and in my opinion, also suffers against Orc. Some people agree. Have you come up with something that you think would be a good addition to these changes? Starshaped, maybe?
We should start. Yeah. Let me see here.
Let's go with Carson first. You're busy.
Yeah, Carson can start. I'm gonna.
There's the obvious one where I think militia are still in kind of a fucked up stage that could use a buff still, the duration, especially now that we have maps like Eversong where the expansion kind of tricky to get to and stuff. I haven't even seen that matchup, like a fast expansion human matchup play out too many times on maps like Eversong. So I think, militia probably, and there's definitely many other things, but I'm sure other people can touch on those with more experience.
I have some notes here. I can go real quick. So I would revert the armor nerf to Breaker because they got like the -1 armor. You could revert that to help a bit, especially against Night Elf. There's a lot of breakers there. Although I guess it makes Human Mirror a bit more breaker focused, but it still is. I mean, so that doesn't really change. I would decrease the cost for long rifles. It's incredibly expensive right now. So if you want to play one base, it's like too much wood. And then I would buff the Orb of Fire by just making it cheaper. Again, to kind of incentivize one base play. And I would take away the tower repair buff. We don't want to have endlessly repaired towers. I hate that. I would take that. That's a nerf, I guess, but yeah.
I think that was.
Happy said that the Orb of Fire is the most OP thing, man.
Slightly better than the Undead Orb. That's true.
Yeah.
Starbuck, do you think? Have you thought of some changes that you think could work well for human?
Yeah, but I think my change could be way too good for human. Militia on expansions.
Oh,
Possibility.
that would be super strong, yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
No, I don't have anything to it, honestly.
Leon, what about you?
Well, I thought just about the duration of the militia because I think most of the time the problem is that, for example, in the matchup against Undead, most of the time when I'm getting some help from a base, the militia is like already gone, like it's a peasant already, and I get just killed. So maybe that kind of helps a bit. I like what Starshaped said as well. The power of the towers, I think like the repairing rate is fine. I disagree with that. But yeah, that would be nice. And also, I like the Arcane Tower should be a bit faster, in my opinion. Being built, but not too much, so it's not getting abused. Yeah, and I don't know. I think maybe a different buff for the Paladin. I know that Remo suggests to go for movement speed. I don't know if that's the way, but I think something maybe in his spells which make it more viable. And the Blood Mage, maybe giving him something which makes it more interesting to choose him for the early game. I don't know what, but I don't know. I feel like it would be nice to see maybe that we see the spells maybe overworked a bit, like what they did with the tanks, maybe something experimental. But I don't know. I don't know specific what I would change there actually.
All right, I'm going to round it out. Some of you may have seen it already. I did a whole YouTube video with my suggestions as well, so I have a couple. I think, like I said, the call to arms range increase, I think, would be really big. I think that would be very helpful. I think making animal war training tier 2 could help a lot against Undead. I think Pally move speed increase, like I said earlier, would be really good to help Pally especially be a viable first hero. I agree with the Arcane Tower decrease time. I think 5 or 10 seconds less could be good here to help humans again with the defense. Not guard towers, though, because we don't want tower rushes again. And I would love to see more human tier 3. This is something I've been harping on for a long time. For that reason, I think reducing the Staff of Sanctuary cost by 50 or maybe even 75 could be great. And increase Orb of Fire damage, I think makes a lot of sense. It used to be plus 10 in the past. Now it's plus 7. They changed it. I don't know why. It has a pretty weak effect because it's only really good against coil most of the time. Otherwise, the healing reduction doesn't do much. But if you had more damage, it would be a good orb, in my opinion. And lastly, I think the Blood Mage could use a buff on Banish. I got this idea actually from a YouTube comment. At the moment you use Banish, unit gets turned ethereal, of course, and they get slowed. I think it would be cool if only the opponent gets slowed, but when you banish your own units, it gets actually a speed boost by like 20%, maybe. 10%, 20%, whatever. All right, that's it. With that, we are done with human.
Could I make just a quick point or a question, open question
Yes,
for the group?
Certainly.
Because we've been talking now about how to make Paladin viable as a first hero. And like I have a question, which is, first of all, why should Paladin be a first hero choice? Or rather, should every hero be viable as a first hero? Is that something the game should have? That every single hero is viable as a first pick? Or is it fine that some heroes are like support and some are better late game picks? Because like my favorite example would be the Priest of the Moon, which is like a complete garbage hero as a first hero, unless you're massing hunts in Isle of Mirror. But it's fine if you already have a huge late game army and you get the bottom third and you give aura for everything. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, does everyone feel that we really need every hero to be viable as a first pick? Is that something we should like put a bunch of effort into making happen, or is it?
I guess it depends on sort of what qualities are necessary to make a hero viable as a first hero. I think it's obvious right now that summons are kind of a part of that. The ability to sort of creep for itself, which is the reason why like Potom isn't necessarily that good right away. And it's like, are you getting level 2? Why are you getting level 2? Are you getting level 3? Why are you getting level 3? You might as well just run across the map and harass. Whereas Warden, there's obviously a reason to creep to level 3. You know, Farseer, there's obviously a reason. Archmage is obviously a reason, and they have stronger abilities to creep. So I guess it depends on what qualities is necessary for a hero to be viable in the early game when you don't have many units, and when you can get a lot of value out of creeping right away.
Yeah.
So I don't know what would need to be changed to make every hero have those qualities, or if it's even possible, and if we'd break the game in doing so.
Exactly. And that's exactly what you said. Like these qualities that you mentioned, because either the hero has to like have some kind of snowballing function, or it has to like have a huge power spike at level 3, or have
Yes.
like late game extreme power. And if every hero fits that criteria, it kind of muddies the game a bit. Like then it doesn't really matter what heroes you pick. So like I agree that it shouldn't be, because like human is always going Archmage. So some races have more diversity than others. We should definitely have some more diversity, but it shouldn't necessarily be the goal that every hero has to be, because like nobody's going Naga first, nobody's going Paladin first, and so on and so on. So it's like I think it's fine that.
And
Yeah, thank you
the
for-
sorry, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you for bringing
clogging
up
the
the
conversation.
question, Starshaped. I think we talked about this in the past a bit. I think you oftentimes also brought up the Keeper as an example. Good first hero, but I think you said that the hero should have limitations. Shouldn't be good all the time. Yeah. Ideally, they should have strengths and weaknesses. Keeper is very obvious with this. Great early game, pretty shit late game if you disregard the Orb of Venom. I agree with that. Not every hero should fit every bill. Not every hero should have the same function. Not every hero should have the same role. But I think it's more important to have more first hero choices available rather than to have fewer. And with human, especially until 6 months ago, like I said, it was so frustrating because it was Archmage only all the time. And we have to keep in mind as well that most races can't really play Tavern heroes because they're too weak for their race. I think Night Elf can make up for it because they have largely pretty strong units they can rely on. So they can play like Beastmaster and Panda. Beastmaster and Tinker and stuff, and that kind of works. But for other races, it doesn't work because the heroes need to be the backbone, especially for Orc and Undead, in my opinion.
But there's also like the next philosophical question then would be like, which heroes deserve to be first? Because that I remember, I know what you're talking about. We talked about this before, and then one of my points was that in the dev comments that they had back then, they were saying like, oh, this hero wasn't being used in the early game, so we're buffing it. And it's like, okay, well, why do you think that this specific hero should be an early game hero and not? Because you're not buffing the Paladin, you're not buffing the Blood Mage, and so on. Like, it's like what heroes deserve to be first heroes is like a pretty open question, I guess. And
yeah, this was especially the Panda. He got stat boosted, but this didn't concern him much as a first hero, rather as a second hero. And I get what you mean. Like, it seems kind of
it's arbitrary.
Arbitrary, exactly. But I think it's not necessarily the wrong approach. Look at the heroes that are underused, buff them to make them playable. It's simple game design, but I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just opening up the questions. I think it's an interesting thing to talk about.
I think like when we're asking that, just for me when I'm experiencing playing human is sometimes, of course, the Tavern heroes most of the time doesn't synergize that well with human, because we need something which blocks the damage, or at least is able to block the damage without dying or getting killed after creeping. And I think I think I would love to see the option to go for another first hero. Not that it must be the most powerful one. I think a lot of strategies humans are playing, like MK first, rely a lot of on a good early game, for example, on surrounding and stuff. So it's also a risky one. It's not the most powerful one, I think. So just to have the option sometimes to do so, not that it must be that much viable as an Archmage play, for example. So that's what I would love to see, because I think sometimes when I tried a lot of Paladin recently first, and I felt like, yeah, it's like I can have so much sustainability with Aura or Divine Shield, whatever, but he's too slow, and I'm not able to. I'm getting out-kited, so it's like it's no chance to get a fight or whatever, just in the late game. But the Night Elf, for example, just rushes me over, and when I'm getting expansion, for example. So I thought like, okay, what might be a possibility so that we can go for a late game, just like what would be nice to see for a change. But yeah, I get it that not every hero needs to get a viability for going to play it as a first hero. So yeah.
Starbuck, do you have thoughts on this question?
Just keep it the way it is. I think it's best. No need to buff heroes just for the purpose of making them playable as a first hero, I think.
Oh, really? Don't you think it would make the game more exciting to see more different heroes and more roles and stuff?
Yeah, but it affects everything if you buff one hero for the purpose of just making him playable as a first hero. and then if you make him like it gets buffed, and then you make him as a second or third hero, and now it's super strong.
Yeah, there's the danger of that. Remember the Keeper, remember the Crypt Lord. They took over the meta. I would say it's a risk worth taking, but maybe I'm more on the adventurous side. Anyways,
it's very. Oh, sorry. We can move on.
No. Go ahead.
Because it's so easy to get it wrong, where you're just replacing whatever the hero is. So, like you said with the Keeper, like it went from Demon Hunter first every game and every matchup to Keeper first in every game, every match. You're just replacing the hero, which isn't much better. The only success story I can think of is Orc, where before it was only Blade Master every game, and now it's actually like Farseer and Blade Master, depending on the matchup, depending on the strategy. So, I mean, it has been done correctly, at least once.
All right. Good topic though, but let's get back to the nitty gritty. Boys, we're back on the patch notes. Orc is our next focus of attention, and this is where our resident Orc player Carson comes into play. We have 6 changes here. We start with the first one. Surprise, surprise. Headhunters getting the nerf finally. People have been asking for it. Carson, is this the right way to do it? Is it the wrong way? What do you think?
I mean, I don't play that shitty ass broken strategy, but it seems like too much. Like the lumber change. I think gold is cool, but I think lumber might make it a little bit difficult to play. Honestly, I mean, Starbuck, you might know the specifics a bit more. Probably Starshaped as well, but I think the lumber is the rough one, not the gold.
Yeah, definitely the lumber, because your initial tag after the first or second headhunter will be delayed. So if you play the normal instant headhunters, so that is without the grunt, you tag after the second headhunter pretty fast. But I can't imagine increasing lumber even when you reach tier 2. You're gonna have very, very large deficiencies when you make second hero, and then you will probably need to wait like 5-10 seconds to get enough wood for second tier 2 building. And if you want to play tier 3, it doesn't come together in my head with the wood economy was.
Yeah, I think they need a nerf, but I don't know if that's a nerf. It might be more of a stat nerf needed. They might be just too strong as a unit. I don't know if I mean, do we want to keep them as strong as they are? Like, if you still get up to 70 supply of headhunters, only headhunters, and you can get the gold and lumber, that army's still being unbeatable. Is that something we're still fine with?
I mean, right now, like orcs make headhunters versus human and undead, and of course orc mirror, but that's a different story. And honestly, Undead with the new ghost meta, they deal with them pretty fine. So I don't think they need like a nerf damage-wise or HP-wise. I think cost is pretty spot on, just not this much. So I would remove the wood nerf and maybe only 10 gold or maybe 15 gold. That would be conservative and on point, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna break the streak and go this time. I also agree that the lumber, I think, is a no-no. I feel like most people agree with the lumber. I think as oppressive as headhunters could be at times, the cool thing was it had lots of variety. We saw lots of different hero choices, with the Panda also coming into play, sometimes Alchemist, and reliably seeing tier 3. Lots of different stat variations with that as well, or army variations. We saw lots of Bloodlust. Rah, rah, rah. I'm a big fan. And I feel like targeting the lumber here is not good. We don't want to see orcs be stuck on tier 2 again. This happened for 10 years. Please, no more. So I also agree this lumber shouldn't be the case. In my opinion, it should be 10 more gold and 15 less HP. Because then they still have their sick DPS, which is kind of cool. But they're a little bit easier to kill. But yeah, 20 more gold I think is too much gold. And especially 10 more lumber is also like... I don't think the lumber should be touched. That's my view. Leon, you have suffered from some headhunters, I imagine, last couple of months, like many humans. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's quite annoying playing against headhunters, not gonna lie. I think, I don't know if it's like, sometimes I feel like they can throw their spears for like miles, which is, I don't know how the facts are there. But I thought about this matchup a lot, and I think I just realized that it's not just about the early game in that matchup, because orcs, when they invest a lot in headhunters, it's an investment, right? So I think the complaining when humans are playing against orcs is that they are fighting too early against the orc player, too much, overcommit, die, and say headhunter is too strong. So
Based.
Yeah.
I think the way to approach as a human is like, okay, like I don't need to uh, commit too much in that early game. Try to do damage, but not too much, and I more rely on my late game, which is the meta right now. So there is a way, and I win with human, and there are some other factors like getting big consumables, good items, whatever, right? So this game is also about some random facts. But yeah, I think headhunters overall, as a human player, is annoying to play against sometimes. But when you get a rhythm against it, it's not imbalanced, in my opinion. And I think the change is too big. I think it should be maybe slightly. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I found a way to play against it, but I feel myself sometimes also getting tilted by headhunters when they get in my base and kill everything. But that's a different story, because it's not just about the balance, or yeah, it's more about like what did I do before that this can happen. So yeah, so that's my opinion about it. I think headhunters are strong, not gonna lie, but I don't think that they need that much of a nerf.
I
Well
would
said.
like to build on top of this, if I may, Mr. Remo Demo.
Of course.
So basically, when headhunters became meta and they were like buffed, that was like 4 months ago, if I remember correctly. Everybody was new to this, and they were still playing Ted Fiends, for example, Undead, and they were just getting stomped, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, this is too strong." And yeah, it definitely were. And humans were losing so many peasants early game, like they couldn't do anything. But now, a few months later, people started analyzing, doing different creep routes, playing Malta King first, just a lot of variability that kind of made headhunters not that big of a deal, I would say, especially if you look undead versus orc matchup with the ghoul meta, and how the undead creep level 3 DK and just build Lich and just snipe like 3-4 headhunters with 2 heroes. And also humans, how they are more prone to harass now, even fast expoing versus them and then getting footy defend and so on. So I think a few months ago we even talked about this, Remo. You asked me what the problematic matchups were. I told you orc versus human because of headhunters, but now we can see more and more top pros adapting and people learning, and it's not as strong as it was, even though the stats and the costs were the same all this time. So when like new stuff gets discovered, some time need to pass by and everything gets normalized. So that's why I would not nerf the headhunters that much, because it's kind of normalized now. So definitely no to the wood and a bit less gold maybe. But yeah, that's it.
If I could just add on this as well. I also had a similar development. I also felt like Undead versus Orc was Orc favorite for the longest time, but with the Ghoul and other things, I think it's actually very even now, perhaps even slightly Undead favored. Here, I also feel like the Headhunters have been figured out very well. I still think, though, and I guess here I disagree, when I see the top Orcs play against the top humans, and both play really well, I still feel like the Headhunters do look, or the Orc does look quite a bit favored, is my view on it. Starshaped, I don't want to skip you, of course. What do you think?
I thought I was going to stick out here because, yeah, I agree. I think this is a pretty terrible change. But I also, if I may, I think we can only talk about this together with the grunt buff, because I think they kind of go hand in hand. Like if it was just the Headhunter nerf, it'd be one thing, but now there's also a grunt buff. So Headhunters, for me, the issue has always been the early snowbally game. So the only change I would like to see to Headhunters is to reduce their range from 550 to 500 and then add that 50 to troll regeneration. So you get that range eventually, you just don't have it in the early game. I wouldn't touch the price. We all know how important it is to tech fast, especially as Orc. Like we've had so many years of Orcs going like one burrow tech because it's just so important to get that tech. So yeah, the wood is way, way, way too much. I would just nerf the unit itself a little bit in the early game, but then give it back at tier 2. And then together with this grunt buff, it definitely feels like it might just change the game entirely, where we'll see no more headhunters ever, and we'll only see grunts. So we're just kind of exchanging the unit rather than opening them up both to be viable.
Yeah, good point. This grunt buff is also going to be very, very relevant. All right, let's break the format here a bit because Starshaped, you touched on it already. The grunt buff, brute strength, increased HP now. Do you want to talk more on it, Starshaped, or did you?
Sure. So I'm always worried a bit when I see something like this, because I just instantly think of like Razorman, like the 5 grunt style of aggressive orc, and it's like if all those grunts get like an additional 50
I'm always
HP.
thinking of Razorman, always.
As a Night Elf player specifically, like every
Wow.
other race I think is fine. Like you're not really scared, but I'm very scared of like a couple of weeks of a meta where it's like you just died a bunch of tower rushes at tier 2 because you underestimate how strong the grunts become. But it'll probably just take a time to adjust to it. I'd be interested to see if this buff is enough to make like 2 burrow techs more viable again. Probably not. But yeah, it's fine to buff grunts. I think it's good to buff grunts. I'm not sure if this is the best way, but together with nerfing headhunters, I think it makes them probably like just too much better. Especially Orc Mirror, we're probably never going to see headhunters again.
When you see the 50 HP, do you think that's the right amount? It's too much, it's too little, or is it too hard to gauge?
It's too hard to gauge. I think it's one of those things where I'll die to a bunch of stupid stuff for a couple of weeks, and I'll feel like it's imbalanced, but it's just you have to adjust. You just have to change because Night Elf is just going to do the same they've always done, and then die to stupid stuff, and then they'll adjust. They'll get like an extra archer or do a 4 Moonwells at tier. They'll do something to be more less greedy than they have been. I think it's fine, but it will probably do some stupid stuff in the beginning.
I also want to hear from Carson here. Carson, you are a Grunt Blade Master enjoyer. Can you remove your own bias here and give a truly objective take on this?
Yes, Remo Demo, yes. I think people forget, because we've been in the Headhunter meta for so long now, that people forget the Grunt meta, literally the Grunt meta, when it was pure Grunt Shaman against Night Elf and Human. For a long time, actually, for like a while, it was like just a lot of grunts with shamans. And I think we've sort of shifted a little out of that now. I think, especially against Night Elf, where before it was actually like, if you get a Bestiary, you're crazy, man. But nowadays, it's like you get a Bestiary right at tier 2, you get a Wind Rider, you get a lot of Raiders, the Sowen style of always controlling the Alchemist, stuff like that. So we're shifted out of going very, very grunt heavy, especially against Human, but also against Night Elf a lot. This might shift it into there being some more maybe viability to skipping the Bestiary and getting an early expansion, for instance, against Night Elf, and probably doing the same against Human. If they play even if they play Rifles, maybe you could skip it because you have more strength without needing those Bestiary units. So it could shift those 2 matchups in particular. And of course, I'm a Blade Master player, so being able to play Blade against Undead Blade Grunts is always nice, but I don't think it's going to be a huge change against Undead. Honestly, I think it's more so against Human, and particularly against Night Elf.
Yeah, I agree. I also think against Night Elf it's the biggest deal. I'm a bit worried, honestly, that this is going to tilt things with everything else in mind quite a bit. If it's more HP for the grunts and no more Ultra Vision on tier 1 and the Keeper getting nerfed and the Blade Master mirror image, all right, that one doesn't probably make much of a difference. I feel like it's a lot of changes going one way. I think this is a bit too much. I think 50 more HP on every single grunt that you have. Most of the time, that's 3 when you reach tier 2. But, new grunts coming in. It seems like a lot to me. A small buff I can get behind. I would say like 30 HP. Feels right, kind of, is my take. This, to me, seems a bit much. Leon, are you concerned about grunts at all, or is that not on your mind?
I think it's a big buff. Like 50 HP more is like 50%, right? I think, yeah, I don't know. I think like when I see the Headhunter buff nerf, it might be okay, but I think grunts, if they get more HP, can't really tell how the early game will go, or like in the late game if I'm playing Rifleman and they go for a lot of grunts. But maybe when we have a nerf on Headhunters, it's a interesting thing to see. But it's really hard to tell. I think it's too much HP. Like they maybe should have gone for a bit lower amount of HP more, and then just see how it's going.
Okay, next one. This is one of the coolest ones of the whole patch, I think. I'm not sure if it's really gonna do much, but it seems cool on paper. Blade Master mirror images doing a little bit of damage now, 10%. Like in Dota. Well, in Dota it's not 10%, but they do a little bit of damage. Carson, you're the biggest Blade Master fan in the room.
Yeah.
What does this mean? Does this mean anything?
There's one really, really cool thing about this, but I was talking about this a lot on stream yesterday and like how excited I was, and I just got shut down by chat and Neo. He was like, it sucks. It does like 5 damage. Yeah, 10% of whatever it is, whatever the blade does, is not a lot. And I guess the crit is not a lot. One point, though, is they would, I think, do hero damage. So that's nice. It's better than every summon damage-wise, if it does that. Not the actual DPS, but the damage type itself is there's no summons in the game, I think, that there is chaos damage, but not that do hero damage. So that's really, really good if it has crit as well, if it takes all the items as well. It could be really good. 10% might be too little damage, something like 15%, and I think you'd be on par with maybe even Wolves. Maybe 20% you'd be on par with Wolves. One really, really cool thing is, though, because this is so often used against Night Elf, is you can now pressure Wisps with it, which is huge. Being able to pressure the Wisp that goes for the expansion, being able to, go into the base and harass and force the Night Elf to use APM to do those sort of things. It's not going to affect Undead because they have Nerubians. It's not going to affect human because their base is going to be blocked and you're not going to go blade anyway. But pressuring Wisps with mirror image is super duper wicked. It's super sick.
Don't you need like 25 hits though to kill a wisp?
Yeah, but you still have to respond to it, and you can't always have wisps out on the map scouting, and you can't always have wisps in the position to build the expansion. So at least you can pressure them away.
Okay.
I think it's big. And also I think the damage again needs to be changed a little bit. But you imagine if the damage was changed a little bit, and you could do that against Night Elf. It would be wicked.
Starbuck, what do you think of this?
I would like to see when you skill mirror image level 2 and 3 that the damage increases. So 10% on level 1,
I like that.
20% on 2, and 30% on 3.
Oh, bro, that's sick. Mirror image build. Level 3 mirror image. Wait, that's 3 illusions.
Dude,
with
would be
20%
so
damage
good.
each.
That would be
60% more
Blade
damage.
Yeah, and I remember.
That's the best idea of the evening.
Thank you.
Starbuck, very good.
Yeah. I remember when I played versus this Chinese orc, I don't know who it was. I think his name is like Warcraft 3 Hero or something. Maybe you guys know him. He's like 2100 MMR. Anyway, I played Talons on Last Refuge versus him, and he did Mirror Image and Shadow Hunter, and he reskilled the blade when he got level 4 to Mirror Image level 2, and I had no idea what to cyclone, and he had snakes behind this, and this was super strong, and he was even making headhunters and early tier 2 exp, and I was like, what the hell, is this the new counter? This seems super strong. Like I was using 2-3 cyclones per like I just cycloned every blade. I didn't know. I had no dispel, dude. It was so good. So imagine if you had mirror image builds that would skill in damage. That would be pretty nice, I would say. Because 10% now is, like you guys said, 3 to 5 damage. With crit, maybe like 7 damage. It's so insignificant. I don't see it being good unless they do what I just suggested.
I think that's amazing, actually. Starshaped, what do you think?
I think flavor-wise, I love it. I think I've had the same experience like long ago where like I played a game of Dota 1 when it was still Warcraft 3. And I'm like, whoa, the mirror image in this game actually does damage. That's so cool. Why isn't that in the real game? So I think it's cool. I like the idea. I have no idea if it's going to be, I'm thinking you can like steal last hits, like you can harass wisps and stuff. I don't know. It would be cool if we could see mirror image builds in other matchups, but this feels like it's targeted only for the Night Elf matchup. And I'm not sure, Carson mentioned crits. I'm not sure if mirror images actually can do crits.
Yeah.
Because right now it can? Okay. Can they have evasion as well? If I have evasion on my demon hunter, and I used Wand of Illusion, I think
don't-
it's a fake evasion.
I don't think. I mean,
think
does
it
display
looks like
evasion,
you
but it
can.
doesn't work?
Exactly, that's how the crit works. It displays
Ah.
a crit, but it doesn't actually work. So if crit works, I think that's cool. But I think right now the way it works, someone in chat obviously probably knows this, but I don't think.
Well, they all think they know, but they all don't know. That's how it works.
I don't think it can actually use passives. I think illusions are like special that way.
I'm not certain. We would have to try that if they can crit. I think they can, but I'm not sure. Not sure.
I'm guessing they can't, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and just one other thing, really quick, is like people are looking at this almost as like this is the only thing that's mirror image is good for. They do a little bit of damage, but there's so many things you can pull things like labs early with the illusions. You can dodge coils, storm bolts. You can dodge acid bomb. You can cancel entangle acid bomb. You can cancel fairy fire. You can break out of
Dust.
surrounds. You can block with it. You can cancel dust. Mirror image was already, you can scout with it. Mirror image was already good for so many extra regions, and now this just gives it more things you can do with it. There's so many options for plays with mirror image now. Even if the damage is little, there's so many more options. It might give you a different timing on level 3 creep routes, so you can harass earlier or something like that, because you have that little bit extra DPS. So it's huge.
Look,
And
I
also-
would love a meta where you have Demon Hunter with Immolation and Blade Master with Mirror.
Dude, how sick
Exactly.
would that be?
I think
Amazing.
we're all tired of Windwalk. Like Windwalk is so boring and frustrating, and same thing with
What?
Mana Burn. So
It's
I
really
mean,
high skill. I don't agree.
no, it's not. It's terrible. It's garbage. It takes no skill.
Bunch of Farseer players in here.
All right, Leon, you're the last one. Blade mirror image. Are you also a fan like us, or what do you think?
Yeah, I like that. It's cool. I think because if I'm finding an item like the illusions, right? I also like to use them, and I think if the Blade Master have the ability to make actually damage with his illusion, that's a cool thing. I think we need to see that.
All right, cool. We're just gonna skip over the rest because we have to run an ad, and these are all irrelevant. Because movement speed aura is too strong. We all know it had to be nerfed. This is good. Sorry, I'm gonna speak for you, but this is just the truth. Witch Doctor is ridiculous. 5 HP on the healing ward. This does absolutely nothing. Stupid. And Stasis Trap.
Unacceptable.
Stasis
Too
Trap
broken
also
now.
doesn't really do anything. Maybe someone disagrees with Stasis Trap. We'll see. We're gonna go into a short break because Twitch must play an ad. He's telling me. So oh, whoops. We are gonna be
Did you just
back
gender
in.
Twitch?
Oh my god, how dare I? Yeah, we're gonna go into a 3-minute break, guys, and then we'll be. God damn it, where's the break button? And then we'll be right back. See you in a bit.
I'm gonna get some chips. Be right back.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some butter.
We are back. Let me do the audio and stuff. Here we are back again. Little break. Gentlemen and ladies, we talked about the first 2 races out of 4. Almost halfway through. We kind of skipped over the stasis traps. I don't think this is relevant. Does Carson, Starbuck, do you disagree? Stasis trap, does that change anything?
No.
Maybe.
Maybe? All right.
I just have
That's-
to comment on the heal ward. This is the most ridiculously stupid minus IQ thing I have ever seen from Blizzard so far.
Yeah, what is the point, dude?
Like, it literally gets one shot by any unit in the battle. What's the point, really? From 5 to 10 HP. Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, let's not dwell on this too long, please, because we gotta get going.
But Hitman style against Keeper Talons, Keeper Lores of playing Witch Doctors with Burning Oil Demolishers, buffed here. But he's the only one that plays it for some reason, even though it seems like a good strat. He has good success with it, but might help him.
Okay. All right, we have reached the end of the orc race. So now again, the question is,
This
well,
is
if
the
perhaps-
Orc race.
if
Headhunters nerfed.
if perhaps you guys,
I have a
want to
bunch of notes on healing words. I thought we could maybe talk about that for about.
Oh yes,
half an hour.
yes, we will. So either if you guys want to add anything that you forgot to mention, or if you have some suggestions, please, Starshaped, the floor is yours.
About orc or
Yes, about orc changes that you would like
Life
to
in
see.
general.
life in general. Yeah, I mean, I had a rough day yesterday, so it's like.
Tell me
No,
about
but
it.
the thing that I made some notes myself about orc. I would.
Do you want someone else to start?
I can go. I have it right in front of me. So I would make liquid fire no longer reduce attack speed. I would
Repair
move.
speed? What?
What do
Yeah,
you say?
almost
Attack speed. Attack speed.
Yeah, so liquid fire doesn't slow down the towers anymore. I would make the biggest thing for me is to move reinforced into two different upgrades. So you get burrows at tier 2 reinforced, but to get the watchtowers you have to get tier 3. So it'd be like 2 upgrades.
That's a cool change. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So just to kind of prevent some of the laming, not all the laming, but
Don't you
some
love
of the lames.
laming? What?
I love it, but I also hate it. It's a love-hate thing. And that's pretty much the thing. Is I guess I would also make speed scroll cost 100. I would nerf it even further. It's way too good. It's still too good. I would. It's so broken. Come on. I would definitely nerf that again. And I would revert the Serpent Ward experience because they made it give more experience. I don't think that's necessary anymore.
I agree with the Serpent Wards. I don't think that's really necessary, but I think it doesn't matter that much. I think Speed Scroll is in a good spot, but that's just me.
It's never in a good spot. It's always broken. It could cost 300 and I'd still buy it. It's so dumb.
All right, changes that I would suggest is, firstly, Great Hall build time should be reduced. I think it was very healthy for the game to see more races being able to fast expand. In the past, it was always Human and Night Elf who could fast expand, and now, recently, we also have Undead being able to fast expand. Of course, at the moment, Undead. A bit too strong. We'll get to there later, but I think it's healthy for the game if fast expanding is possible, and in general, expanding is easier. So I think Great Hall build time, reduce it by 15 seconds. Perhaps it sounds crazy. Maybe 10. Maybe 15. Maybe 10. Would be good. Also, Taurens. I love Taurens. They never get played. I think they should be buffed. Reduce the gold by 30. I think that would be good. And Headhunters, we talked about that. I think they are nerfing it way too much. Don't reduce the lumber, but just reduce... don't increase the lumber, excuse me. But increase the gold by 10 and reduce the HP by 15 is what I would have suggested. And buff burning oil a lot. Because burning oil sucks. That's it.
Can I make a point on Tauren as well?
Yeah.
Because I think it's really interesting that I think what they did when they moved the Spirit Walker from the Spirit Lodge to the Tauren Totem, and then they could build it at tier 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea there was, Tauren are so hard to get because once you get tier 3, you have to start the totem and blah, blah, blah. So you already have the totem in place because you're getting Spirit Walkers, but now we just happen to have like a meta where we're seeing a lot of Shaman. We're not really seeing, like, if the meta was more focused on like the old school Grunt Raider Walker Spirit Link style, maybe we could see more Tauren because you'd already have the building. But right now, it feels exactly how it did before. Like you don't have the building anyway, so you are still making it once you want to make Tauren. So they it just happens to be like in the meta that we're not really making the Spirit Totem, the Tauren Totem.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly.
Carson, what do you think? What changes could Orc use? What would be cool?
I mean, I think a couple of the nerfs that Orc needed were addressed here. Like, I think TC probably could be nerfed, which he was. I think Headhunters were probably too strong. I think Blade meta should be buffed so that Orc players learn how to play the game. It would be nice. But, like, I'm sort of coming from a point of view, like, because obviously I just sort of follow Hitman's style of play, which is weirdly different from everyone else's. But he tends to play everything. Like, he plays a lot of different crazy strategies, particularly against Night Elf. And he also makes lots of different strats work in Orc Mirror and stuff like that. So watching him play, he also plays a lot of things against Undead. He plays Blade and he plays Farseer. He plays Mass Windriders. He plays Headhunters. So watching him play and following sort of how he plays and his philosophy with the game, I mean, everything is used for Orc. Everything seems viable. Everything seems good in particular situations. So I don't think anything needs a huge buff unless, you're going to nerf Farseer meta and buff Blade meta to make it a little bit more viable. That would be nice to see. But maybe not necessary. But yeah, I would like to see more Orc players going back to Blade against Undead if it's possible, and playing it in Orc Mirror as well, because it takes more skill, and Orc players are getting worse and worse by the day.
I like how you keep flaming your own race. Very based.
True.
Leon,
it
Starbuck,
already happened to Night Elf and Undead, so I mean now it's happening to Orc.
do you have some suggestions? It's
I
okay if
feel
you don't.
Actually, no, because I think everything what happened recently, and Starshaped said it, this Spirit Link Grunt Blade Master Raider meta when I played back then 10 years ago was like the only thing Orc could play. And now I feel like they have more options. I don't know anything which could give Orc another impulse. I think like going for like this, what you said with the Great Hall. I don't know if every race needs to get a fast expansion or is able to do so. I don't know if the duration, or you said like 15 seconds, if that changes anything, because I don't know. But yeah, I think Orc is in very good shape, actually.
All right, Starbuck.
I would just like to add that the Great Hall could either be cheaper or less build time.
All right, cool. Sweet and to the point. I like it. All right. Next up, we have Night Elf.
Oh, baby.
Let me look at this one quick. By the way, just throwing that out there, I think this was the best that Blizzard did with the races. Well, they also did pretty good with Orc, except for Headhunters being too much. But these changes may all be correct, in my opinion. Although I disagree on one. Just saying that first. But yeah, let's start things off with Tranquility. Can we just skip
which
this?
one you disagree with, Remo?
It's a tangle. It's a tangle, bro.
Oh, really? I thought it'd be immolation.
Nah, that was my idea. Tranquility, I think we don't have to get into this.
All your
Tranquility
ideas?
is super strong, ultra busted, deserved a nerf, right? Anybody disagreeers?
I disagree. I think it should be buffed to like 30 seconds.
Mm.
So like the cooldown is over before you even finish the ultimate. So in case you have to move the keeper.
Make the keeper invulnerable the entire time as well.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Right.
Now we're
That's
thinking.
awesome.
That's
Who's
some good
taking notes
ideas.
here?
That's some good ideas, boys. I want to hear from you, Starshaped, though, on the Potom. We have talked about the Potom so much. I think I've talked about the Potom more with you than your wife has with you on most subjects in the world. So, what do you think of this Starfall? And what else could the Potom... what else could she get, maybe?
So the problem with Potom, well, the problem with these changes is I look at them and I go, and what else? Like, what, you can't just buff the ultimate of a hero that nobody ever uses anyway. The few times we see her, it's as a third hero. You're never going to get level 6 with a third hero. So this does absolutely nothing. You were never going to see Starfall ever again in our life. I'm sorry. But
last week, Moon won an epic game with Starfall.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But the thing about Starfall is that just like any ultimate that's channeling, by the time you're level 6 and get Starfall, your opponent has some way to deal with it. And if they don't, they'll just buy like a Dark Ranger from the tavern. Like it's such a... All those ultimates are terrible, except Tranquility, because you can actually use it outside of the fight. So it's a garbage ultimate, and we have to change it. There has to be some sort of invulnerability or something that makes it actually go for a while and not just instantly stopped. But you talked about the Potom, and yeah, it's just we have to address the rest of the hero, not just the ultimate. There's no reason to pick her as a first hero, as a second hero, only as a third hero. And I think that's a shame because I really like the Potom. I think I would love to be able to go Potom first.
All right.
Multiple matchups.
Yeah, I think Starfall, whatever. Do you guys have any point on Starfall?
It's fine. I mean, it needed to be buffed, but yeah, I think I just agree with
it's still
Starship
garbage
and everything. Yeah.
Okay, I think this doesn't really matter much. Now the next one. I think this is the most difficult for me to assess. Like, what's this gonna mean? Where's this gonna lead? How is this gonna look?
Oof,
Did you guys, by the way, check out the Hive Workshop? The Hive Workshop Discord, basically. Dude, Sock Puppet had 5 essays going out about how this is gonna ruin Night Elf against Gyros. It's gonna be unplayable from now on.
Against
4v4.
Gyros?
In 4v4, to be honest. Yeah. Apparently, you need talons against Gyros in 4v4.
Really?
So this is a nerf.
Yeah.
Against.
But yeah,
interesting.
Piercing damage, huge implications. Obviously, gonna be way more damage against everything that's air, aka everything they can attack, with the exception of Gyros, and also means they can just attack destroyers now. Yeah. Where does this go? Starship, can you? Is there any way for us to extrapolate, or is this too wild and we'll have to see?
I think it is very wild. It's hard to say. I think my gut reaction is that this is terrible. It could break the game in multiple ways, but there's also like a but there, because right now I don't know if you remember this. I think you probably do, Remo. There were situations back in the day where a night elf would go talons against undead. Like one base against one base. You'd go talons, then they add destroyers. You already have the ancients of wind, so you make hippogriffs. And I think that style might just be like talon might just be broken. But then there's also the fact that undead can expand these days. So if talons ever becomes popular, we'll just stop seeing one base play from undead. It'll just always be expansion styles. So I think in that area we're pretty safe. Like it's not going to break the game one way or the other.
How
but
much
it could definitely
range,
be.
attack range is Crow?
Yeah, I
from
was going to
Talons?
ask that as well. Yeah.
The attack range of the Stormcrow?
Yeah.
I want to say it's 300, but I could be wrong.
I think that's not enough to really.
feel like it's
threaten.
longer
Like
than that.
destroyers with aura, they're so fast. I think you can run away from them. And if there's too many talons in the air, there's nothing on the
Let me
ground.
check real quick.
I mean,
because
I've heard a lot of people saying that this is super scary for undead. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not being cautious enough, but I feel like this won't
They
really
haven't played happy
good
before
enough.
playing Mass Air. They have like, I mean, any top undead is gonna fuck a
Yeah,
bunch of
and
talons
also
up.
level 3
guaranteed.
Lich with Nova
it's
against
600 range.
talons.
600. 600.
600 is pretty sick, dude. What?
Okay, 600 is a lot.
Pretty nuts.
Okay,
Oh
600
my
is a lot.
god.
That changes things.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait. Can you like guys know how you can flying machines? You can actually outkite because of the movement speed mostly, but depending on the movement speed and the range of talons, they might be able to be like flying machines where they can actually be microed. I know air units being microed, guys. Oh my god. But you can micro them and just outkite everything.
Yeah,
Maybe.
with the 600 range and their high move speed, there is some potential there. But the concern is still, if the talons are up in the air, what do you actually have on the ground?
And I think that the bigger point for me is like if you ever want to get anti-air as Night Elf, you never ever went Stormcrows. Like they've always had an anti-air form, but it's never been. It's not good. So even if it's piercing, I don't think that matters. What it does change a lot is Night Elf Mirror, where I guess you can no longer go Talons if it's piercing damage because bears will be much stronger then. I mean, I guess you still have Fairy Fire.
It's just crow form.
Oh right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Never mind. So I think that's all I have to say about the Stormcrow.
Yeah, this is my sleeper
Piercing
change
damage.
here. This is the one that I really can't say what it's going to be like. It could be crazy, it could be trash. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already
think
trash. So
Impy said it was going to break the game as well. That's what I think he said that one and the Holy Light one was like going to break the game.
all right. Starbuck, do you think this is going to break the game?
Only time will tell. But generally, I think I like something new like this. It could develop something fun. And if it goes too wrong, hopefully Blizzard will be awake to change it back. But anyway, if we talk versus Undead, you can Nova them now. Like you can't Nova
Yes.
the fairies.
Yep.
So that's one big thing. Or the point of making mass talents, and you obviously need tier 3. And usually if you want to do that, the Undead will do their timing push with the frenzy goals, and you just won't have time. So I'm thinking, what scenario would this actually be good to use in? I don't know really. It's an interesting change, and honestly, I welcome it.
I guess, sorry to talk a lot on this, but I guess one thing about the fact they have 600 range is, you know how when it is like a standard like fiend army on the ground, and then dryad bear and hippogriffs for the night elf, and the undead is just kiting across the map, and they're always webbing the out of position hippogriffs because they have to get within melee range and then killing them. That's not going to be the case. I don't know what the range on web is, but I think there's some micro ability now for the dots to be able to be out of web range, and the
Yeah.
night elf to be able to move their whole army in unison forward, so they can't get out kited by the undead so much. Maybe.
That's
yeah.
actually that's really cool because and then you could land them as well. Like once you kill the destroyers, you land them and you
Yeah.
have Fairy Fire, and then they have to make another one. You just put them up in the air. And
You have cyclone. Cyclone's not that bad. After you kill the
Yeah.
destroyers, you get cyclone, bring them down, cyclone to DK.
it might be really good against specifically destroyers. I think that might be like the one case where we might actually see some use of the anti-air because everything else you just want to have hippogriffs mostly.
Leon.
Yeah, so you just don't make hippogriffs, make talents, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, they had double use on the ground
Exactly.
as well. I think that's really nice.
And it might help the matchup if that's the case. Together with the undead, unholy aura nerf as well.
Oh yeah, dude, I didn't even consider the goddamn bears before. Yeah, I think mass. I think this is only good in 2 base. 2 base economy, bear drives you begin, and then you don't go hippos late game, you go these guys late game. I was just thinking about, master talents for the most part. I think master talents still trash. But if you combine talents and bears, I think that's what Infi meant. That would be super sick, dude.
Yeah.
Talent plus bear army is probably super crazy. Do they have the same upgrades?
Of course it is. Night Elf, bro.
Okay.
Everything has the same Night Elf.
Okay, that could be sick. Okay, that could be crazy, actually. Because 600 range, if there's bears in front...
Wait, do they get upgrades when they're in crow form?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be Huntress upgrades then. It has to be.
No.
Really? What is wrong with this race?
Night Elf, man.
What the hell?
Okay, yeah, I didn't consider this before. Yeah, 2 base, bear plus Talon crow form army is gonna be sick. Like, crazy sick against Undead.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like it.
All right, Leon, do you have?
I think it's gonna be fun. I'm actually excited for this one. This one and Mirror Image. I'm excited, and the tanks kind of. Even though it's really stupid, the tank change. These three, I'm pretty excited for.
Everything's being said. I think it's interesting to see.
Talk quite a bit about this. Oh yeah, this could actually be crazy, dude. Seriously. Okay, next one, Entangle. Lots of people have asked for this. Was it justified, Starshaped?
I don't care. I don't know. I think so. I've seen a lot of people react strongly to this. I can't really put it in my head exactly what these numbers mean. I guess you have to hit a few extra times to guarantee a kill. But like Entangle, it doesn't really matter the small differences here, because it's like Entangle is either super broken in the early game when there's no dispel, or it's just dispelled instantly. So it's like Entangle is still fine. I don't think this. I'm not sure what the purpose is. But I guess it does. It's nice with the nerf because it's a very annoying spell. Gives you more time to get out.
Starbuck?
Yeah, I mean, 1 second and 2 seconds and 6 seconds on level 3. I think it's fine, honestly. Especially versus human. I think it took 2 hits and Entangle level 2 to kill the footy. Is that right, Leon? Or
Yes.
it was only 1 hit? 2 hits?
2 hits, yeah.
Yeah, so now the keeper will take some more damage from the auto attacks from the human if they want to do like 3 or 4 hits. I think it's okay. I don't mind it.
Leon?
And versus Undead and Orc as well, like Headhunter, it was 1 hit and Entangle on level 3 keeper. Now it will have to be 2 hits or 3 hits. Definitely a good change.
Leon?
Yeah, I like it. I like it because I think, as Starshaped said, like I think level 3 Entangle is weak because when a keeper has level 5, most of the time you got dispel. So the biggest problem was on level 3 when keeper gets level 3 against human and just entangles every footman and just can walk away, just instant. Like it doesn't feel good because it's not like a big thing to do as a Night Elf, I think, like just to entangle and walk away and a unit dies. So I think like getting a bit of a nerf is good because so it's not like just entangling everything and I think sometimes when a keeper finds you, I'm creeping and every footman dies. So I think now it's a start, I think.
All right, I'm going to disagree with the crowd here once again. I don't like this change. I don't think the Entangle needs to be nerfed, especially level 1. Some people say, well, it's either lockdown, either way, this doesn't matter. I disagree with that as well. A full second of disable, I think, is a big deal. And 2 full seconds of disable on level 2 is even more of a big deal. This nerfs Keeper overall, which means it nerfs Night Elf overall, which I don't think is the right way to go. Against Orc, they're a bit too strong, but lots of things are being done to help out Orc. I think this is not necessary. I can accept that level 2 and level 3 Entangle maybe reduce the duration, because, it's crazy long, it's kind of sick. But level 1, I think, really should not be changed. And I think it's fine to just leave Keeper the way it is, with the exception of Thorn's Aura, which will come after. But yeah, Carson.
Yeah, the big thing that I'm wondering about is the level 1 for, like, sometimes Night Elves go Entangle first against Orc, I'm thinking. The other matchups, I can't really speak too much on it, the specifics at least. But when you go across the map with level 1 keeper with Entangle and you harass peons, I'm not sure how many attacks you need, but I wonder how big of a difference this is going to make. Like, if there's a burrow right next to your gold mine, you entangle and attack the whole time. Does it give the orc the opportunity to save the peon into the burrow with this 1 second reduced? I'm not sure, but that could make a big difference to keeper early games on things
It
like
does.
Last Refuge, maybe.
That's a
It
big point.
does?
That's
Yep.
a big point. Yeah.
So if keeper entangles a peon and the peon is right next to the burrow, it can still survive, and like the little bird attack from the keeper is still flying. Like
Right.
if the keeper stops attacking for like 0.5 seconds, the peon can survive if he's right next to the burrow to go in. So this 1 second will absolutely make a big deal.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of destroys him on LR in particular. Destroys Sonic just overall. His whole game plan is gone. But I think that's the biggest change, at least versus Orc. At level 2, the units are already dead. It doesn't matter. It's 18 seconds, 60 seconds. The grunts are dead. I mean, for footmen, I realize that's a pretty big deal. And maybe for undead as well, it might be a big deal. But I think the level 2 thing, the biggest is against human for sure.
And the Entangle then would also not one-shot ghouls anymore. The level 2 one. But, depending on Blight. Whatever. All right, next one. The most underplayed aura in the game. Thorn's aura being increased quite a bit. 50% increase. Starshaped, I'm pretty sure, thinks this is the wrong way to go.
Oh, I love it.
Didn't you say in the past
great.
like he needs like move speed or something?
Oh, well, I think I was really annoyed when they buffed Vampiric Aura and not Thorn's Aura. Because Vampiric Aura, you get to choose your own army composition, but Thorn's Aura, you can't choose your opponent. So it's like Thorn's Aura is just much worse than Vampiric Aura already, and then they buffed that. I got really upset. But I think this is good. I think, one downside is we might just see a bunch of Keeper and Night of Mirror now. It might just be much, much better than Naga, probably. Although maybe not, because, Naga's instant at Tavern, and that's a big deal as well. So it's still kind of up in the air, which would be better. But what I'm kind of looking forward to more like bear style against Orc. I love going like Demon Keeper. And then you can go, once you get level 3 Keeper, you can go Aura level 2. That's 30%. Pretty good against like Blademaster and Grunts and stuff. So I think this is nice. It also helps a lot in the air fights against Undead, which has always been a bit of an issue. So if it's like Hippogriffs against Gargs, now you can also get some extra Thorn's Aura damage, which I think will help. It's still the worst aura in the game. It's still garbage, but it's slightly less garbage. That's nice. It's a good start.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna jump in here. This is quite a big increase. It's 50%, but I think it's okay. Like, first of all, you can always not play melee if it's that good. Second of all, people keep talking about 45% damage reduction. That's a lot true, but it's also a level 5 keeper without a big active spell. That's also something to consider. And yeah, it was just complete garbo before. So I think this is good. Starbuck?
Actually, I'm gonna flip the script, and I'm calling it now. If this goes through, in Night Elf Mirror, it's gonna be a lot of Keeper first. Reason 1, it will counter the Priestess of the Moon. Reason 2, if you get earlier Keeper level 3 or 4, you can play Pit Lord second with Cliff, and then reskill to the Thorn's Aura, and you will win every Bear Mirror.
Yep.
That's
So this
cool.
might be like insane. I think
No.
no, it's
because
already strong.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and I agree. And the thing is, if you play against like the top China Night Elves, if you go Keeper first, and you want to do this Pit Lord stuff, I love that as well. But if you go Keeper first, they will just go Mass Archer Demon Naga, and they'll just push you hard, and you just can't deal with that level 3 Demon Hunter with potions, and you just get run over. Like, they don't let you get to the late game. If they do, then it's really powerful. But all these guys like Kaho and Colorful and Sini, they'll just go all in. 100% with Demon Naga, and you just can't deal with it, in my experience at least. But in theory, sure, it's really strong, but they just won't let you get there.
But if you blind counter the all-in, then you have an advantage.
How do you blind counter it?
Edge to war.
Yeah, or second edge. Or you can even make one Talon to focus the Demon Hunter.
Well, if you overreact, they can just expand. Like, if you overreact, I think they can just switch into like expansion and go bears, like whatever. But if it's like archers against archers, you're just going to die to the efficiency of the demon hunter. That's my experience, at least. And I think I've talked with other people about this, and they kind of agree that
Interesting point,
this has
though.
been solved.
Starshaped, I love the foresight you have, if that works out. 30% Thorns Aura, like let's say it's level 2 Thorns, right? It's kind of realistic. How good is that at countering Demon Hunter? Is that at all relevant, or is that of no concern?
It helps. It's nice, but it's like against Blade Master. It's noticeable, but it doesn't like change. You're not gonna like be very careful of your Demon Hunter anymore. Like it's just, I don't know.
This is interesting, though. I think this is cool. This certainly opens up a lot more Thorns Aura play. Leon, what do you think, Thorns Aura?
Well, I think it doesn't do anything in my matchup against Night Elf. Maybe Night Elf Aura, like Starbuck and Starshaped said, so I can't really tell if that is a huge thing. But I think it's cool to see that they tried to do something there, because I would love to see some more variety for the Keeper, actually. Not just Tangle and Treants. That's cool.
Carson?
Yeah, I think the obvious thing is the whole Night Elf Mirror thing. Is Naga still good, or is Keeper always going to be good? But another thing that comes to mind, at least from my experience, would be Demon Hunter Keeper Mass Dryads. Demon Hunter Keeper Dryad Bear is bad. Demon Hunter Keeper Bear is bad. But Demon Hunter Keeper Mass Dryads potential all-in, or at least stopping the Orcs Tier 2 expansion, is really, really good. So this might help that strategy against Orc. And does Night Elf really need more viable strategies against Orc is my question. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I like this a lot. If it should be super strong in some scenarios, I think it's kind of cool. Because, yeah, Thorns is crap. All right, next big guy that's coming in is the Mountain Giant. Nerf on Hardened Skin, buff on Armor. Where does that land him? Starshaped.
He's just as irrelevant as he is now. I don't think this... if anything, it makes him weaker. Because Tier 2 Mountain Giants is already unplayable. Giving them 2 armor, I don't think does anything. And then they're even weaker at Tier 3 with the Hardened Skin. So
you beat me on Netties one time on Echo Isles with Mass Mountain Giants, by the way. I just want to put that out there.
But that was double taunt, wasn't it? I hope.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, otherwise, shame on you. So, I think this is just... this does nothing. It's one of these. I'd love a dev comment. What are they? I know what they're thinking. They're thinking we want to make them more viable at Tier 2 and slightly weaker at Tier 3, but they're already garbage, and this is not going to change anything.
Starbuck agreed? Question mark.
Wait, I'm a bit confused with the +2 armor. Don't they already have some armor when they spawn out?
Yeah, but now they have 2 more. So they had 4 before. Now they have 6.
Jesus,
it's kind of a lot, honestly.
6 is a lot.
That's the most armor in the game for any starting unit, I think.
I wonder if this can open up some timing attacks on Tier 2, like versus human. You mash Dryads on 50, and then you bust with 2 to 4 Mountain Giants.
I always bust when there's 2 to 4 Mountain Giants.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man.
Kind of far-fetched, I know, but yeah. I agree with Starshaped. So, yeah.
Leon?
I love it. I love to see that they got less armor. But just because I play against so much Night Elves on Concealed Hill, and they're healing themselves so much. So those Mountain Giants get a bit nerfed, but I don't know if it's actually necessary. Like Starship said, that they are just played there a lot, in my opinion, and not on other maps. So I think +2 armor for the Mountain Giant is not that big of a deal on Tier 2, because they are very expensive. They take a lot of supply. What Starbuck said, I mean, yeah, maybe there's a push, but I think it would be nicer to see that it's more like viable for a late game approach and not like just for a cheese. So I'm not a big fan.
And Carson, Mountain Giants.
The armor is whatever. I guess we'll see. I don't have the number offhand what 6 armor is. It's like, what is it, like 30 reduction, 20 something reduction? I'm not sure, but it's, they're already tanky enough. I think Hardened Skin being reduced is nice in like this sort of piercing meta, so that rifles aren't completely worthless against them for instance, stuff like that. Even though we don't really see them that often in that situation, so it's like it's whatever. I don't know. I don't play against them too much anymore. So, and when I do, I just get torrents.
Could this be? I'm thinking just right spontaneously, but like, could they be trying to make giants stronger against knights and stuff? Because the hardened skin is
Right.
Yeah,
like-
there's the question like who this ends up being less or more damage. I know what you mean. Like depending on which unit attacks it, does it end up being more damage being taken or less? And yeah, knights
yeah,
probably do less damage now.
I think so. I think this might be. I thought it was helping them at tier 2. It might be rather helping them deal with knights if you're already going.
But for
giants.
example, berserkers and fiends are way better now against them.
Yeah.
Yeah. To give my 2 cents, I think you guys are really underestimating 2 armor. 2 armor is a big deal. Just to have 2 armor more for free, that's big. But I mean, they were ultra trash on tier 2, so understandable. Hardened skin, yeah, it's pretty annoying. You know, mountain giants are one of those annoying units. I don't want to see them in every game. If they appear every now and then as a rarity, kind of cool. But yeah, I don't think that's going to make them too strong by any means on tier 2
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
with keeper Torrent's aura versus knights, mass mountain giants. With
True. What about that? What about
we go.
that?
Wicked.
I already broke the meta on the nice.
aura.
All right, next one. I want to hear from Carson here first. Ultra Vision now requires tier 2.
Ooh, that's I mean, Ultra Vision is imbalanced, not broken, imbalanced. It is ridiculous. It is insane. It is really strong, and it's still gonna be good on tier 2. I guess if you think about it, you just have one less nighttime. Now, a very crucial nighttime without Ultra Vision. Is it just one? Yeah, I guess just one less full nighttime without it, and it's very crucial. I'm thinking, obviously work against Night Elf right now. But was it too strong? I mean, yes, I think it was too strong. We'll have to see, though. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just completely ruining Night Elf against Orc with the standard sort of colorful style. But one less nighttime, it's still going to be good. You're still going to get it 100% of games. How many upgrades could you say that about, where you always get it no matter what? Not too many. So I think it's fine. I think maybe it's fine, but it is a huge nerf for sure.
And now we will hear Starshape's rebuttal.
This is when I made my own patch ideas for Night Elf. This was one of my suggestions. It's moving Ultra Vision to tier 2. I think it's really good.
Very selfless.
But
Nice.
But the thing is, I love it and I hate it at the same time. And let me tell you why. Because I think Hunter's Tech is like the coolest opener as Night Elf. In general, I just love it's a very flexible and cool opener. We almost never see it other than against Orc. And the cool thing that does is that you get to get Ultra Vision early. Because you're already investing in the Hunter's Hull compared to doing an Archer Tech. And now that difference goes away. If it's moved to tier 2, so it's just one less reason to get a Hunter's Haul early on, and it's already very, very expensive to spend 100 wood and 210 gold before teching. So I like this change, but I would love to see it in conjunction with like buffing the wood cost of the Hunter's Haul or something like that, because it kind of makes it takes away the differentiation in openers for Night Elf. But it is a good change.
One small thing I'll add too is this is a little bit orc whiny from me, but I'll just say it. Night Elf with optimal play, with perfect play, in the early game at least, maybe even in the mid game, they should have perfect vision of everything because wisps. If they have 2 wisps on the map and they know their timings, they know their creep routes, they know where people are going to be doing what and when, you should always have perfect vision anyway. There's no reason to need more of it during the first nighttime. If you're using your wisps on the map properly, which you should be, I think you should always know what's going on, regardless of extra vision.
I can add, if I may, that this is like the Orc matchup is definitely the only matchup where this really matters, because like every other matchup is so clashy. Like if you're playing against human or Night Elf Mirror or against Undead, you're always kind of fighting. But against Orc, there's a lot of running around and they're trying to dodge you. And if you get one grunt, you just kind of have a huge advantage. So this is the one matchup where getting extra vision helps a lot. And this is the one matchup where we actually need to help Orc a bit. So this is a really good change because it doesn't really affect the other matchups.
What if it was moved to Tree of Ages, though?
That was my
could...
Carson. That was my suggestion. That was my suggestion. It was move it to tier 2 and move it to the tree.
I think that's good. I think
I think
that
that's cool.
I think that might even it out a little bit.
But don't you always have Hunter's Hall anyways?
Not if you're going talents. And
But
sometimes you
when
want to
you
go
go
like straight
talents.
tier 3. You know, if you sometimes you hit tier 2 and instantly want to go tier 3, and then you have to stop and think, do I want to get Ultra Vision first? You know, stuff like that. So
I don't
think
like that.
that's,
I'd rather like reducing the cost of Hunter's Hall then. I think that's better. But
yeah, that was one of my. Well, I guess we'll get to the what we're missing part later. I can tell you all about my ideas.
Oh, it's gonna be a good one. Leon, though, what's your view?
Ultra
Ultra
Vision, I don't care. Like, I think it's just important for this Orc Night of matchup. So yeah.
Okay, Starbuck.
Yeah, for me, the best change in this patch, for sure.
Yeah, I also think this is amazing. This helps Orcs so much. But I think it's a good point by Starshaped as well. This definitely makes the Hunter's build weaker. I think making the Hunter's Hall a bit cheaper to compensate could be a good idea. Where exactly that lands, I don't know. But yeah, this is... Oh, it's going to be such a big help. Honestly, when I asked you, Carson, I thought you were going to spill some liquids or something. But you were very reserved.
Yeah, I mean, it's only one nighttime in most cases. A very important nighttime where you can win or lose the game. Again, Night Elf against Orc in that match, but it's one nighttime.
All right, one of the most exciting changes: Immolation. This one is bugged, by the way. At the moment, it looks crazy, but they intend other things, most likely. Leon, are you afraid for your peasants with Immolation, or what do you think?
Yeah, I remember Sonic going for my peasants all day long. So that was quite annoying. I saw the video, how it's working at the moment, so I think that's not the idea. Immolation, yeah. I mean, it's a cool thing. Yeah, I'm afraid that this is gonna stay in the game, that it's too strong, because it's very annoying to play against it. I mean, you have an Arcane Tower maybe, but yeah, I think it's a good way to buff the Demon Hunter a bit, give him more things to do, or make Immolation more viable. But I'm afraid that it's gonna be too strong. So if they just find a good way to be not too broke, then I'm fine with it. Just another opportunity for the Night Elf. But yeah, it needs to be fixed. So if that's not the case, I'm very afraid, because then I think this game is not playable.
Starbuck, what's this Immolation change gonna mean?
So first I want to get something straight. The last dot, immolation duration reduced from 1 to 0.5. So this means that it has 2 damage ticks per second.
Yes.
All right. So I saw some clips and some people testing it out, like Insup and Pata. And it was absolutely insane how he could solo creep a really hard camp, like a gold mine on Tide Hunters.
Mm-hmm.
And he just picked up the item from the first camp with the Ancient of War, and then went solo creep the demon, and then run to the Undead base. It was just crazy. So I'm super excited for this. Obviously, remove the bug, so it's not as strong.
Yeah, I'll just explain the bug. I'm sorry, I should have done that. Not everybody
Yeah,
knows. So the way they're intending is, so this was the old Immolation damage right here. 10, 15, 20 damage per second. They want it to be 15, 20, 25 damage per second. That should at least be their thinking, otherwise they're crazy. But what they didn't consider is that with the damage tick interval change, now the damage doesn't come out every 1000 milliseconds, but every 500 milliseconds. So now it does 30 damage per second, up from 10 damage per second, which is why it's really crazy at the moment.
Sounds reasonable to me. I don't know.
It costs less
Like every
mana.
archer, man. Holy hell.
It's fine. Let's roll with it. Come on. Don't watch those clips, guys. It's fake news. Just roll it out, Blizzard. Let's go.
Yeah, Starshaped, what do you think? Lots of changes to Immolation. The bug is there as well.
Yeah, I think that the way Starbuck put it before is exactly how I feel. Like I would love to see more mirror image, and I'd love to see more Immolation. They're really cool spells. So I like it, but the problem, the thing I'm worried about is that right now as Night Elf, you can kind of look at the Keeper as like the good early game hero. It can deal with expansions. It can kind of snowball a bit better. And the Demon is the more solid late game powerful hero. But if this kind of goes through, then I feel like maybe the Demon can just do everything. Where you might not even pick evasion anymore. You'll just go mana burn and immolation, and you can just do everything. So it might be too versatile. So maybe we'd have to like nerf mana burn if we buff immolation or something like that.
Oh, that would be so good.
So like, I think that would be cool. I would love to see a world where it would make sense to go like immolation evasion, and not ever pick mana burn. But then you'd probably have to buff evasion somehow as well, because mana burn is just so incredibly powerful. It's hard not to pick that skill. And as far as creeping goes, you know, the if you're not a Night Elf player, you look at Moon Wolves and think that it's like so easy. You just have free healing. But every Night Elf player knows that, you know, using your Moon Wolves efficiently is like the most important part of the early game. So nobody's gonna like creep with immolation, I don't think. Right now it might be bugged and be crazy, but like it's not really worth it to use your mana.
There's some
that
sick
way.
camps though. Like think about Echo Isles, the Murloc camp.
Yeah,
think
but you're
that's
gonna take
worth it.
so much damage
Oh,
though.
yeah.
And then you have to use all your Moon Wolves, and then like 3 grunts show up, and like I don't know. I think people might.
But
might
there must be
underestimate.
some scenarios where it's good for creeping. There must be
Oh
some,
sure,
right?
sure, for sure. I just don't think it's like problematic in that
You can
sense.
pull Lightning Shield on an archer from the Merc camp, and then use the archer with Lightning Shield and Immolation to creep the Murloc.
Oh,
Also,
baby.
I want to point out, because like level 3 immolation right now, not the PTR, level 3 immolation does as much damage as the lightning shield, right? So it's like a level 5 hero picks the most powerful version of a spell, and it's just like a caster adept spell. It's garbage, and it's draining your mana, and it has an activation cost. So like right now, it's completely garbage. I'd love to see it buffed, but this might be.
I don't know if you've had the chance to try out the PTR yet. It seems like you didn't, Starshaped, but the damage tick change is such a huge improvement. Like, it makes it so much more fluid.
Yeah, just start there. Just start there. I agree. Because like you said, I don't think they really thought about the math here. Just change the damage tick and the mana cost reduction the way it is, and not the damage intervals. And that might be enough.
I think you also have to increase the damage. I think if you leave the damage the way it is right now, it's not enough. But I think this is good. Like, they just they messed up with the math. Just make it not 15, 20, 25 the way it is right now. Just do this, turn this into 7, 10, and 13. And then we're there. I think that is awesome. I love this change. I want to see immolation. It is super pog champ. I'm pretty excited for this.
I'm surprised no one commented on the fact that Demon Hunter is now going to be more viable against expansions, because Undead, when they see Demon Hunter, particularly happy, they just go, okay, I get a free expansion, and the game's over. GG. And then, obviously you can't go Demon Hunter versus Human really for the same reasons right now, but if Immolation gets buffed to a good enough point, it's going to make Undead Expos somewhat counterable through Harass, like Keeper is at times, and same with Human Expos with Keeper sometimes.
Yeah,
or at
I
least
guess
punishable.
That's kind of what I meant by saying that the Demon Hunter can do everything now, because like Keeper is stronger, and but that's exactly what I didn't evaluate or go any further, but that's what I meant. Like against Human and Undead, you can just I guess I can pick this hero, and no matter what he does, I have a solid way to play, and that might be too strong.
I think that's also what everybody needs, though. They need a hero which can work in every scenario.
True, but honestly, Demon I've kind of flipped my opinion a little bit about, because I've seen a lot of games from like Colorful and Kaho where they're just playing like Demon counter expansion at tier 2, and they're making it work quite well. Like what I'm afraid of the mass Garg stuff, but nobody plays that except for like the low MMR opponents I have to play against, because then I don't know what to do. But if it's like expansion into Fiends, I think I've seen a lot of games where like they just go Demon 1 based, kind of like against Human. You just creep the map and counter expand slowly, and it seems to be okay.
All right, we're done with Night Elf with that pretty much. I'm gonna do my suggestions first, and then I'm very excited to hear what Starshaped would like to see. So I think the Podum could use a lot more love. Starshaped, it feels like you have influenced me there. We talked about Ultravision being missing. I think it would be cool if the Podum had a new unique role. I think it's always cool in Warcraft 3 or any game when there's specific heroes being able to do a specific thing. They have their own fantasy, and they can do something that nobody else can. I think for the Podum, what would make sense playstyle-wise with hunts, and also just lore-wise, if she had, by default, super high nighttime vision. No ultravision needed, just by default. So normally, heroes always have 800 daytime vision and 1800... No, the other way around, excuse me. 1800 daytime vision and 800 nighttime vision. I think for the Podum it would be cool if she had 1800 daytime vision and 1900 nighttime vision. So you always have huge vision with her. Also, I think Searing Arrow should be buffed because, you have to play Searing Arrow because Owl, especially as a first hero. Owl is not viable as first hero. So buffing Searing Arrow, either mana cost reduction or damage increase. I'm not sure. what would be better. Also, Starfall, I think, could be more damage. And lots of buffs to the bottom. I want to have Owl invulnerability removed, though. It is so annoying when 3 owls follow you and there's nothing you can do. It's like Watcher wards on crack. This shouldn't be the case. This shouldn't be possible. This is super outdated game design and drives one mad. And I have one more. Fairy Fire, I think, shouldn't give detection and vision anymore, but rather, of course, it also gives minus armor, but should also reduce healing by 25%. That way, it might be a better counter to bears. And of course, immolation damage has to be changed.
I like it.
All right, Starshaped, what's your suggestions?
So what I'm missing from this is, first of all, I think due to the claw, the mana buff, I think we should revert that. They have way too much mana now. You have endless rejuvenation. I think that could have been in this patch. Just kind of take that away. And then the Hunter's Hall, I would love to see it. So right now it's 210, 100 wood. I would buff it to 210, 80. But then I would also increase the build time by 10 seconds. So you couldn't mass hunts faster because you have a cheaper Hunter's Hall. It'd still take the same time, but you can tech faster with a Hunter's Tech. So that's what I would love to see. As far as the Potom goes, we've talked a lot about the Potom, and the thing about Potom is that the Owl Scout is like one of the best spells in the game. It's so broken. Level 2 Owl Scout is map hack, and I would love to be able to like pick Potom first and have the Owl Scout. I've tried that so many times; it just never really works. And Searing Arrows. The thing about Searing Arrows, I think, is that it's a Reign of Chaos spell, and when they introduced the Frozen Throne, and they made new arrow types, they had to be cooler and better to attract the players to get the expansion. So it just kind of gets left in the dust. It's terrible. It's the worst spell in the game. You could definitely use a rework or a buff somehow. No. Searing Arrows is the worst because you're actively hurting yourself by using it. Like you're just draining your wells faster. It's kind of like Immolation. They're both the worst spell in the game. So I would love to see some sort of change to the Searing Arrow. And someone in the chat pointed out there is a hidden skill shot with Searing Arrow at level 2 and 3. So if you use it manually, you get 100 extra range. Which, probably some dev long ago thought that the Potom was too uninteractive with the aura and the Searing Arrow. So maybe they could do something with that, add some sort of skill element if you use it manually, or if you, I don't know.
If it had like an attack ground sort of thing, this might be totally in. But like it had extra range if you had like the G command, and then it did like a little AOE or something like that. But you had to do it manually, so it was literally a skill shot. We don't have a mechanic like that. It could be fun.
What if the Potom, just baseline, had more attack range? 750. She's like a sniper.
Yeah. Ooh. And a higher attack speed. Her attack speed is so bad.
But then she runs away from the hunts, and then it's less aura for the hunts, right? Okay, maybe that's kind of a bit.
Just buff the aura range. No problem.
Hunt range? I don't know about that one. All right. Anybody else got any suggestions for Night Elf that they would like to share, or shall we move on?
Yeah. I have 3 main suggestions. So the first one being revert the bear buff. Too much mana. Like I see so many times elf players in tournaments are using rejuvenation on 90% HP units. It's just come on, man. First. Second, nerf the Fairy Dragon mana flare. It's way too strong versus human and orc. And I think Low Light also touched on this. It's way too strong in my opinion as well. And the third thing is nerf the Wellspring Tier 3 Moonwell upgrade a bit. Either the maximum amount of mana available, or slower regeneration or accumulation of the moon juice. Do you guys agree? What are your comments on this?
Yeah, I thought that I have 2 things. One, the fairy fire thing. I think I don't think removing the vision thing. I think you could do like a Kodo that's devoured a unit sort of vision, so very, very small. So at least you know where that unit is, but not where the whole fucking army is when you use whatever is 25 mana on one unit.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about the mana flare, like the fairy dragon.
Oh yeah, I was gonna touch on that. But I was just
Okay,
saying my points first. Yeah. And then
Okay,
also,
okay.
I think that Wellspring could potentially be changed to somewhere, maybe if ever you need a buff. But Mataflare, I don't know if it's too strong necessarily. It does a lot of damage, but it has counterplays. Maybe you could do something like reduce the armor that they have so that they're more killable. Maybe, but I don't know about the damage itself necessarily.
Maybe the range. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that bears are too strong. Double rejuve, pretty crazy. Also, I hate Bear Mirror. God damn it, I hate it. Fairy dragons, they were buffed back when Night Elf was having lots of trouble against human. And, we all know the perfect human army, 80 supply, breakers slowing things down, and your bears are never moving. These were the happy days of Starshaped when he was complaining about defend and everything that was human for a long time.
Yep.
So I think fairy dragons kind of need to be good against human. I would like to see just human being elevated a bit more. I think that would help. And I don't, at least from watching pro play, it doesn't seem to me like they're much of a problem against orc. But maybe I haven't seen all evidence.
I think it's I agree to that point. Like playing against field dragons, against masked bears and dryads, sometimes this combination is very rough to fight against. I think sometimes it's like the range they have, like it's sometimes very annoying. I think the damage as well. Like one field dragon is not a problem, but if they get 3, of course we can switch to gyros and stuff. But then they have pandas sometimes level 5, whatever. So I think sometimes it's very hard to play against it just because the few dragons outcounter your whole army. I don't know what change would be best. Like they need to stay strong because otherwise we just kite the Night Elf and he has no chance. But I think the few dragons or like what you said, like elevate the human a bit more would be a good thing.
All right, Carson, you want to throw any suggestions in there, or should we get to the next?
No, I'm good. I already kind of touched on what I wanted to. I'm good.
All right, our last race, boys. We're almost through. Undead. Here we go. We all agree unanimously. This was one thing we all agreed on. Undead is too strong against human. I think that's pretty obvious. So let's keep that in mind and jump right in. Is anybody sure that they understand perfectly what they mean by the first point? Because I don't really. Anti-magic shield can now receive the same summon magic damage inflicted by dispel, purge, and abolish magic. Please, guys,
what does this mean? It and it does the,
you
can
damage. Dispel it.
You can just dispel it. It has nothing to do with summoned units. Because it says summon magic damage.
Oh, well, because it does the damage that it does that to summoned units, right? There's no damage that it does to anything else in the game.
It feels like this could definitely be articulated a bit better. But anyways, I tested it, and it certainly doesn't work. It is buggy, whatever the intention is. You can't dispel anti-magic shell. Starbuck, many people don't know. You started out being an Undead main race player. What do you think about the match and this idea of AMS being dispellable?
Yeah, I see this being affected in 2 matchups. The first one is if this goes through, we're not gonna see Banshees in Undead Mirror anymore. They're just gonna play Fiends and Destroyers because it's just gonna feed mana to the Death Throws, right? And the second point would be versus human Gryphons. But I'm not sure if you want as human to make priests and Gryphons together because priests versus Undead are kind of bad. I don't know, maybe Leon, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's completely rough, like going for casters, or even when I try to go for sorcerers, they get like kited to death immediately. So I think it's very rough to go for Dispel because the Undead will run away and I won't be able to reach him. So I think it's not that easy to like make it happen to kill the anti-magic shield actually.
Yeah, so those are the only two situations that we see the anti-magic being used. So I don't see this being like an effective nerf or a change, rather. Just seems random.
Yeah, I rather would see like reducing the amount of damage. It's like
this would be better.
Agreed.
That would be better because
Agreed.
like just to do it like to 200 or I think it's 300 right now.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think like make it like bit I like nerf it in the damage wise. And I think what's also sometimes the big problem against Undead is like when I'm having a level 5 MK and want to kill the DK, like the anti-magic shield just absorbs everything, so I can't even like recounter the nuke, right? So that's a big problem as well. But I don't know, maybe it's enough to just reduce the damage.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just trying to. So what I think this is actually, I thought this meant that it can be dispelled, but the way I read it now is like the anti-magic shell is treated like a summon unit with 300 HP, right? So if you use purge, it's removed instantly because it does 400 damage to summon. But if you use abolish, it does 250 damage, I think. So you need 2 abolishes to remove anti-magic shell, but 1 purge. You need 2 dispels from a priest because they do different damage to summons.
Yes.
So that's how it works. In that case, I hate it because I want to be able to remove it with 1 abolish. Because I think it's good that it can be removed. I'm thinking just from an idle perspective here, where it's like it's 2 base against 2 base, and then in the super late game they get a bunch of banshees and they have everything green, and then they possess everything. It's kind of stupid. So I'd love to be able to remove, but I guess it does affect like Undead Mirror a lot. It'll become Destroyer Wars maybe.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, doesn't that tilt Undead Mirror back to pure Destro? Because you can't go Banshee Summon. This is it's just Destros now, which I like. I'm a fan of pure Destro,
Dude,
but
you
I'm
got
the
the
only one in
weirdest
the entire
taste
world.
in the world.
Yeah. So that's probably gonna affect quite a bit, maybe negatively. But I love the fact that it should be able to be dispelled. It's always been kind of weird, and I would love for them to add the same thing to the Night Elf potion. It should have the same effect. That way, you need 2 dispels in that case to remove it from the panda before you siphon it. So it should probably be the same in that case. That's my opinion.
But then Undead also gets spell block.
What do you mean?
AMS gives spell block. You can't target AMS. I mean, you can't target anti-magic potion, but you can target anti-magic shell.
Oh, you mean with like Stormbolt or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has the damage. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess honestly, I've always thought they should just be the same.
I think it's fine if they're different. All right, I'm just going to give my take here real quick. I think this especially could ruin Undead Mirror. Oh, goddamn Destroyer Wars. Carson, I think you're a sadist and a masochist for liking that. I think it's terrible. Maybe. I think it's a huge risk. I think there's a safer way to go about it, and that it's just a numbers question. Like, I think it's obvious. I think this is purely a numerical question. 300 damage absorb is too much. I think we all agree. So we just have to find the right number. The question is just, what is the right number? 100 damage absorb is too little. 300 is too much. The right number is somewhere in the middle. I would say between 190 and 225, maybe. I mean, I'm not certain. But yeah, I think the number here is the issue, not the dispellable part.
Definitely the lower one of the Spectre, considering you can re-spell it instantly, right? You can even stack spell it. So it's still green and you can do the new one on it. So it should be like 190 or 180.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Would be a huge nerf, but I think that's okay. Everything being magic immune is kind of dumb. Carson?
Agreed. Yeah, everything's been said. We're cool.
All right, good. Unholy Aura makes sense. Same as the TC. Move speed is insane. I think we all agree. Somebody wants to add something? No, right? It's pretty obvious. All right, this is kind of a cool change. This is a fun change. Animate dead corpses. Now no longer invulnerable, so they can't be attacked. And they all carry Disease Cloud if you have it researched. Kind of interesting. What do you think? What do we think of this one?
Wait, does that mean every unit has Disease Cloud or just A-bombs?
All revived units have it if you have it researched. Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge buff. Oh my god, it's sick.
All right,
is it good now? Is it good?
As a little information though, you can dispel the summons because they're no longer invulnerable, and they do give experience. I'm not 100% sure how much experience though.
You can dispel them?
Experience.
Yes.
Oh, useless ultimate then, lol.
Aren't there also scenarios though where there's not much dispel on the other side? For example, Orc especially. human in some scenarios. I mean,
think
Night Elf's
it's
always going to have
most
dryads,
often
probably.
against human. I think most often you'll see level 6 DK against human, I think.
Are you
I would
sure they
say-
can be dispelled? Because
Yes.
that makes it so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Because the funny thing about when they first changed this way back in the day to make them invulnerable, it was a huge nerf because the fact that they would soak up damage is just something good. So if you can make them like immune to magic,
Kind of
then
like,
I think this is fine.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think if they were magic immune as well, I think that's good.
But it's still a terrible ultimate. It's so expensive, and you probably still rather have the aura.
It's
The
only
movement speed
125 mana nowadays.
It's still way too expensive for what it
I mean,
does.
what I would do is keep them invulnerable, and you don't need to have disease cloud researched. They're instant. Like just put them automatic disease cloud on them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a buff disease cloud, like a special version that does even more damage or something.
Now you're getting crazy.
Yeah, or
That's
keep,
gonna
keep-
break the
keep-
game. They know that. They can't
Keep,
change
keep
that.
the old ulti and add disease cloud on top of it. That would be okay.
I think if they were magic immune, so they can't get dispelled, and they have always disease cloud, I think then it's kind of good.
Yeah.
Leon, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it will be used after that as well. I think also like having research disease cloud for an ultimate. I don't know. It's too much. It's too much. I think what Starbuck said, just give them disease cloud and try stuff, but it's useless. I think.
Carson?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can't dispel it and they're still targetable, I think it's pretty much a buff against human because you got to think about how the other matchups are going to be microing. I guess against Night Elf too, but you're not going to see DK level 6 that often. You're not going to see DK with a lot of mana probably that often. But against Orc, you have mass range, so the AI being fucked up doesn't make that big of a difference if you use the ultimate. But against human, when you have knights and all that stuff, and not a lot of dispel or whatever, it might be good. It might be good against human. And does Undead need a good ultimate against human? Is the question at that point.
Well,
so I
to
don't
be
know.
fair, whenever you play Tri-Hero, this is extremely unlikely to be reached. So that means you should never get an Undead Mirror, you should never get it against Orc, and never get it against Human. But against Night Elf, you can definitely play Dual Hero. So this
I think dual
would
hero
be-
is sometimes viable against human, though. Am I wrong? In
You're
some
wrong.
It
cases.
is. Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
All right. Well,
No.
I'll send you some happy replays later.
I'm sorry. It's not viable.
On certain maps.
All right. Tell you what. If you play Lich first, Fast Expo, DK second, maybe. But with DK first, no way. I would say. Allow me to take this one first. Ghoul Frenzy now also gives 30 HP. I think this is a really, really bad idea. Really bad idea. Frenzy Ghouls looked pretty bad a while ago. They looked like kind of bad units. Maybe they needed some help, but I think that has been disproven quite some time ago. I think Frenzy Ghouls are really good, especially with the fast expansion build, teching into tier 3 timing. This is a completely out of place buff that should not be included at all, in my opinion.
Based.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, this is one of those where this is probably the worst change of all of them because ghouls are already used in every single matchup, every single game. They're such a versatile, strong unit. So why would you buff them even further with Ghoul Frenzy? It makes no sense to me.
Yep.
Should never be in the game.
True.
So, Starbuck, you agree, or you have a
Yeah,
different?
of course. Just disgusting to see something like this, honestly.
Disease Cloud duration decrease affects, I think, Night Elf the most, especially
Yeah.
Dryads.
Yeah. Do
Starshaped?
people still play Dryads? I don't think so. It's always varies.
Mostly not because of Disease Cloud, in my opinion.
Exactly. So maybe this will change that a little bit. I think it's nice. Disease Cloud, it's kind of like Fairy Fire, where it feels like it just never ends. I guess it kind of helps human a bit as well, because Priest will like auto heal. I guess you have to turn that off if you have the micro. I wouldn't do it. It's fine.
But everyone agrees this makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's the right direction. I mean, it's still probably broken, but yeah, it's the right direction.
It's a little bit too strong, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now this one's interesting. I think almost universally everyone agrees statues are the best unit in the game. Seems like they need a bit of a nerf. The nerf they chose is they increased the level. What this means is it doesn't cost more, it's not more supply. This just means that when you kill it, it gives more experience. It used to be 40 experience. With this, it would be 60 experience that you get from a kill.
So like a dryad.
Yes. Leon, is this the right nerf for the statue?
It's one thing you can do. I mean, I think they also always compared it with it's so much as much XP as you kill a footman. So I think that's okay. It's one way. But I think the biggest problem is the regeneration they can give the undead army and the sustainability. So I think that's the thing we need to address. And yeah, I think maybe the cost or maybe the supply, I don't know. But I think more like focus on the regen they can give the undead army is a big problem, I think. Because in combination with high-level undead heroes, and Coil Nova and stuff. I don't know, but I think there's something that needs to happen. Something there, I think.
Starbuck?
Yeah, this is completely wrong way to nerf the statues. Like XP doesn't really matter. What you need to do is rework the. Do you guys hear that? The mic?
Yes, something's crackling.
Leon, I think. Did you turn a fan on?
Oh, is it me? Well, let me see. I check. Wait a second.
Okay, so anyway, you definitely need to focus on the regeneration, not the XP here. XP is pretty useless. Like most of the time, the statue won't die. There's not really good lockdown for elf, human. With orc, of course, you can try to kill them with ensnare and so on, but that's not the point. You need to decrease. I think the biggest problem is mana regeneration more than heal because of the undead heroes. They benefit so much from the mana, the Nova and the hero nukes. So I would suggest here 33% nerf to the mana and maybe 20% to the HP.
33%.
Yeah, because
it's huge.
Yeah,
Dude,
because
that's
listen,
huge.
400 mana now instead of 600?
listen.
Or
I
do you
think
mean the actual mana regen?
Mana regen.
one proc of
Oh.
mana regen is level 3 brilliance aura. No?
It's
pretty much.
3 mana per proc.
Yeah. So it's
Dude,
I would-
I mean, a 33% nerf, like that's huge. That's
Is
so
it?
big.
No,
That-
I agree
yes.
with Starbuck. I agree
It's
with
huge.
Starbuck. So what
Dude,
you have to do.
Dude, wait. That's as if Clarities now only gave 66 mana instead of 100 mana.
Yeah. So what
Yeah,
I would
but-
do.
tier 2 200 gold unit. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Remo?
Exactly. So the thing about statues is they do everything and they're tier 2 unit and they cost 200 gold and they're mechanical. So I agree with Starbuck. What I wrote down is I would reduce the initial mana to 300 because for some reason they start with 400, which is crazy. So they should start with half, like every other caster in the game. You start with half of your mana pool, which is 300, and then the mana regeneration should be 2 instead of 3. That would be my nerf. So 2 per proc, so to speak.
Here's a crazy idea that's really stupid for sure. But what if there was an upgrade? You started with only health on statues, and you needed an upgrade to be able to get mana,
I like
and
it.
then you got more mana with the upgrade.
I
It
love
might
it.
be really stupid, but
No,
maybe.
I love it. I love it. Got to do something because it's such a broken unit. It's so stupid. Like it has everything. It's tier 2, and then at tier 3 you can turn it into like a heavy air unit that eats everything. It's like it's.
I agree. It's a very good unit. It's the best unit in the game. It needs a nerf. But you guys talking about huge changes. Like 3 mana regen versus 2 mana regen. That's 33% nerf. If you thought about it the other way around, if it was reversed into a buff, it would be a 50% buff. I think this is crazy numbers. Which is why I think the mana regen, of course, is super strong. But I think the tick can't be changed. Because going from 3 to 2 mana, like, it's enormous. Guys, that's enormous. Which is why my suggestion is, well, the easiest way to balance anything is always with gold cost. Whatever you have in the game, you can always balance it with the cost. which is why, in my opinion, it should be the cost here that should be changed. Either 230 or
gold.
240 gold.
400.
Or make it tier 3 unit or something, because it's, I don't know, it's crazy.
That really limits the options of undead on tier 2, though, for sure. Like, what do you get from tier 2? You get a Lich.
Yeah, for
Burrow.
Undead, you definitely need statues on tier 2, honestly.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can make it bigger mana, like 15 or 20 mana per tick, so it drains out
I
faster.
like that. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
They gotta do something.
Guys.
They can't just do this, because like giving more experience for killing it, they never die anyway, unless you're orc.
Yeah,
Like I've
it's
seen
pretty
those
funny.
go down
Like
to
there's
zero
so
mana.
many ways to nerf the statue and it needs some nerf, and this is possibly the worst one to go for.
Yeah.
For sure.
because
Yeah.
like realistically only one race can kill it, and that's the orcs. Right, and if they go fairies and demon hunter, they can also kill it. But normally with bear dried armor, you can't kill statues either. Even in undead mirror, you can't kill statues, and human can never
Demon
kill statues
Naga, I
ever.
think, can do it. They can do it pretty well with mana burn and cold arrows, actually.
Not if they're positioned well though. Yeah, like that's
Forehead.
definitely an interesting topic of discussion. Like what's the right way to approach a nerf here?
Huge nerf. Nerf.
I agree with
400
Starbuck
gold.
that also the mana regen spell on the statue being more expensive, that could work. Like I said, I think gold cost increase here is worth considering. The thing is, yes, of course, it's a crazy good unit, but every race needs something crazy good. Like heal salves, I think that gets overshadowed oftentimes, are crazy good. And lots of races have really good things. And Undead has nothing really good before tier 3. This is the only really good thing before tier 3. And we have to keep it in mind, with everything.
The only good thing.
Well, in my opinion, though, this is not enough nerfs to Undead. I will mention mine here shortly. But yeah, we're pretty much through with the Blizzard changes. What other changes would you have in mind, guys, for Undead? Have you any opinions?
Fast expo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
agree.
guys think about this? Making the skull more expensive, so you need like wood for it as well, like 10 wood, 15 wood.
Yeah,
I
any
think
amount of wood would make it hurt, I guess, a bit more to buy.
Why not just put it back? You need a graveyard. That's how it used to be. So if you
then
wanted
it's-
to expand,
Then it's,
you had to get a
then it's
graveyard.
impossible. Then it's impossible,
Yeah.
dude.
It destroys the
though?
whole.
Yes, it
Forgot
is
about
impossible to
that.
fast
I
expand.
forgot.
You
need a
just
graveyard for
you
it.
make a fiend build, but you just go ghouls. Like that. That's how they used to do it. You had to if you
Starshaped.
wanted to expand, you needed to spend something for it. You can't
Stop
just like, oh,
clowning.
just
No, that's not realistic. Let's be real here.
do we want undead fast expansion? Is that something we want to see?
Yes, we want
Yeah,
every
but
race to
we
be able
want
to
it
fast
balanced.
expand.
We want it balanced, though.
Yeah.
I think also it's fine that Undead can expand, but the way it is right now is sometimes very frustrating because, I think there's. I think the Nerubian Tower, for example, is something
Yes.
which we can touch
Oh,
at
yeah.
because I think actually like it's a death zone, 4 seconds slow. Like if it's like if an Undead player does it right, it's very rough doing anything. And the cost you need to build this thing and how strong it is, like just this Nerubian Tower saves everything. I think that a nerf here would be nice, and I don't know where else, but yeah.
So would you also nerf the Haunted Gold Mine, like higher cost or longer build time?
Yes.
Yeah, something like this. Maybe longer build time or higher cost, but I think maybe longer build time because I think sometimes like just timing, having the opportunity to kill this thing, because when they have the Nerubian Tower, it's very rough to kill this thing without losing everything. So getting a timing on this is already hard, I think. I don't know, but I think one of those things would be nice to see, actually.
I think I like Starbuck's point the most. The thing is, Undead fast expansion, very strong. Undead tier 2, tier 3 expansion, kind of whatever. So I think touching the cost of the sacrificial skull is what would make most sense. It would be kind of weird if items costed lumber. I guess you can do that. But you can also just touch the gold. What if it was 80 gold?
Yeah, I mean, effectively it damages the wood economy because you can't build as many ghouls as you could if you spend that much.
Yeah.
And especially versus Night Elf, like you usually need to buy 2 skulls because the Wisp can deny the first one.
Yep.
Like they
Well,
build
then
the
it's
Zig,
all-
you cancel it, and then the dispel the skull.
Yeah, it's not worth it any longer to sort of just fake the expansion. Like people just buy 2 of them right now because it's barely any investment.
Yeah.
And then you just keep them and you just fake it. So it would actually be like a commitment to go for a fake expansion, which I think is a big part of the meta right now against Night Elf in particular. Is to just buy them. You sell the TP, you can afford them easily. You can get all the ghouls you need. You don't have to cut ghouls. You don't have to cut your tech, and you just fake it. You force the Night Elf into a suboptimal build, and you're way ahead even without going for the expansion. So making that punishable is good, I think.
And skull combined with something else, which Starshaped will explain now.
Yeah, but the thing about against Night Elf specifically is like you put down the skull, and then you build a ziggurat, and that's your farm. So even if you're doing a fake expansion, that's not like a fake investment. You're still getting food from that. And then at tier 2, you can make it a narrow because there's no way Night Elf has the time to kill the ziggurat with it like archers, you know. So that's gonna stand there with blight.
That's not exactly true.
Whenever
Normally,
they want
when you
to.
see when you see the ziggurat, you go Huntress build, and then you can destroy it with Huntress.
Yeah, well, then you've invested quite a bit into something that's not even a fast expansion. So it's like that's my point. Like if you're playing straight up, you're not going to be able to do anything about that ziggurat. And whenever they want to, they can turn that into an expansion. It's like a constant threat hovering over you. Like this can turn into an expansion. This can turn into a narrow at any time. I think Happy even makes their narrow most of the time, even though he's not expanding. Like it's because it costs so little. So the narrow, I agree with Leon, is one of the biggest issues. It has way too long of a cooldown or a cooling effect on whatever it targets. So that's what I would nerf probably. Make it a bit more expensive, probably. More wood.
Yeah, 50 wood for the ice tower, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
20.
It's
wait,
20 now.
It's 20 now.
Yeah,
Make-
it
make
should
it-
be.
yeah,
It should be
okay,
50.
okay.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things because it's the best tower in the game by far. If I could make Nerubs instead of Ancient Protectors, I would every day of the week. It's just such an incredible and cheap tower, kind of built into the whole thing. So yeah, more expensive, more wood. I'm not sure. Maybe someone in the chat knows. Like, can items cost wood? Is that even allowed? Maybe it's not like possible to make the skull cost
True.
wood. But it would be interesting if we could have items that cost wood.
Well, I mean, you can do it in custom games, so I guess you must.
Well,
be able
then
to do it.
then they should be able to do it in the library. So maybe it's a no. Maybe it's kind of weird. But yeah, we have to touch on it somehow.
Alright.
But then again, if we do have like the crazy immolation, maybe that's enough to deal. Like there are other things that will affect the expansion, so you can't just think about nerfing it in a vacuum because we've already had some things that might affect the expansion.
Also, I think we need to keep in mind that when making these changes, we also have to think about things that have to be nerfed. And here I mention, come to mention what other suggestions I would have. I think Lich has to be nerfed.
Yeah.
Asking the room, anybody agree?
Completely.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest threat at the
Yeah.
moment for me, for
I
example,
think-
at this matchup.
I think Lich has 2 broken spells right now. Dark Ritual, not level 1, but level 2. It's ridiculous. The mana sustain from Skellies, or Ghouls, if you want to sacrifice them, is insane. And also Frost Nova. Level 1, not really. Level 2, also not really. But level 3 Nova is ridiculous. Don't know if you guys know this, but it's an 8-second slow
8 seconds, yeah.
on an 8-second
What?
cooldown.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
It's-
something I realized when
and-
I played.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and with Dark Ritual, you have infinite mana. So, in my opinion, Dark Ritual transfer rate, HP transfer, should be reduced. Right now, it's 33, 66, 100. I think it should be 33, 55, 77. That means from level 2 Dark Ritual, you only get around 70 mana, or 74 or whatever, from a Skelly. That's a lot better than getting 100. And I think Frost Nova slow duration should also be changed from 4, 6, 8 seconds to 4, 5, 6 seconds.
True.
Other than
Did
that,
you guys?
I think Possession. Wait a minute. Possession could also get nerfed a little bit with a bit more channeling
Make it more
time.
obvious that I'm getting my units getting possessed. Please, please.
More channeling time. And I'm still a big fan of the Crypt Lord, so I feel like Impale could have a mana cost reduction. I know many people won't agree with that
90,
one.
like Shockwave.
90, like Shockwave, exactly. And Dreadlord, I would love to see more. That guy's a super fun hero, but he's pretty trash. But I think it's really dangerous to touch his spells, because if you make Sleep too strong, it's super cancer, and if you make
Plus
Carrion Swarm too strong...
1.236 agility to the Dreadlord, right, Remo?
If you make Carrion Swarm too strong, could be a 6 spell as well. And the aura is kind of stupid, because you can't really play ghouls late game normally, and only affects melee units, whatever. So I would suggest give the Dreadlord more agility.
There it
And-
is.
Yeah, give him more agility.
Sorry.
To give him more armor and attack speed. That's my suggestions.
Yeah, that agility is gonna be game breaking. I'm sure.
But I'm not sure if you guys like when I read these patch notes. Scrolling down, reading each point, I was very surprised that it felt like human kind of overall got like nerfed, and undead kind of didn't even get like. I was surprised at how little they touched undead with this patch. So I definitely agree. We definitely need more direct hits on undead and like the problematic areas, which is the Lich a lot of the times.
By the
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
Ivory Tower and Tiny Grey Hall cost lumber. Just to put that in.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Oh, true.
Yeah, go ahead, Leon.
Yeah, I want to say that I think what I would love to see is like more variety now in that matchup, because it's all about some moments in that matchup, like both going for expansion, Lich goes for the Archmage, kills it or not. Of course, it's possible. It's not like there's no way to win. That's not the thing. But I think like just make this. I feel like sometimes playing human it gets punished so fast that you're something like, okay, even though I'm killing the Lich, sometimes it doesn't matter because he did so many Novas and killed so many things, it doesn't matter at all. And I think just making it like in a way that there are more possibilities to switch, like to adapt to a play. And I think
That's
now
why
it's
the
just
Pally needs
Lich.
more move speed, bro. Pally first.
Yeah, I think
let's go.
like something like this, or like just having a possibility, like you said, also nerfing the Lich a bit would be a good thing, just to have the possibility to survive till the end. Because now I'm playing against sometimes level 4 Lich, and I know, okay, this man, he will just hunt me down with this one spell, and it's very rough. It's just rough because, of course, you can say, yeah, the early game, but like having the possibility to deny with Dark Rituals, like Happy is so perfect, so good in just denying everything. Like just with the spell, like he can get mana and deny and can kill Footman easier with Nova and get level up. And I need to creep a lot because with Archmage I can't go for last hits and stuff. So it's very rough because of course Happy is a great player, but sometimes to have less that like input output of that, it would be awesome.
Can I ask it because like in the human matchup against undead, I know if I'm playing keeper, for example, and they're doing Lich expansion, one of the feelings I have is that we're both gonna have an active early game. We're gonna do a lot of creeping and fighting, and he'll get level 4, and I'll get level 4, but my hero kind of sucks, and he's gonna get level 5 Lich almost guaranteed, and it feels like I just can't come back from that. And I kind of get the same feeling watching undead against human, where it's like level 4 Archmage against level 4 Lich. And Archmage is a great hero, but like that Lich, it feels like it's such a carry, and it gets to leveled up so early that you just kind of lose hope.
It's like a warden that doesn't have to creep necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. The problem is, sorry when I'm interrupting.
No,
The problem is like the challenging for creep spots. Like the Lich can just stand there, and if your level 1 MK is coming, or maybe Panda, whatever you choose, the Lich can just make sure this guy won't creep, but he will be able to creep because he will win those fights when he's doing it good. So that's a problem. Like
yeah.
in a certain point, you just need to play tanks or do something to threaten him to say you're not able to creep. But that's very rough. So that's the problem, I think, in this matchup. That at a certain point, the scaling of Lich is so big that you're like just say, okay, I can lame, or I'm just dying in every fight because he will just crush me. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That's a big problem. And we were talking before about viable first heroes and should every hero be viable. Lich might be one of those heroes that shouldn't be viable as a first hero because it's so powerful when it levels. So maybe that should be a hero that we should try to avoid being able to use early on. It should be a second pick or a third pick.
And the problem is not only Lich scales well. Like the undead will have faster tech. They will kill more peons early game and everything else. Like their whole tech and heroes and army will be stronger than the humans. That's why the matchup is so problematic right now. So not only do you have to nerf the Lich, you also have to nerf a lot of things.
But then you might affect other matchups, which will it's a headache. I understand because all of a sudden Nidal will destroy undead and Orc will destroy undead. So it's like it's very hard to touch that matchup only. What do you do? And maybe then it is like Remo said, some kind of like Paladin buff that would only affect that matchup. Maybe Paladin first becomes viable, and then you can actually scale better. I don't know, like something that doesn't affect all the other matchups. It's really hard to think of something.
I mean, you know, we want to go. I think it would be prudent to go with what's logical and what needs to be addressed. And I think we all agree, Lich level 4 and 5 is just way too good. Like, there needs to be a nerf on Dark Ritual 2, Nova 3, a little bit of a nerf on Nova 2. I suggested mine earlier. I think that's obvious. I think everyone who disagrees, without trying to disparage them, I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, it's so strong. I think it's pretty crazy. So, bring down the Lich. Maybe make the Sacrificial Skull a bit more expensive and bring down the humans a bit. But I think the danger also could be, like, if we just completely, you know, trash one race and buff the other one super heavily, then it could be flipping around. But yeah, nerf the Lich, nerf the expansion, maybe a bit, nerf the statue a bit, and some other human buffs that we suggested earlier.
And might I suggest one undead buff, which would be web. I think web is way too expensive, right? It costs like 150, 150. It's crazy
What?
expensive. The web for Crypt Fiends?
Yeah, but it's a crazy upgrade.
Yeah, but it's so expensive. I think that could definitely be buffed to cost a bit less. It's like an extreme compared to every other like upgrade in the game. It seems really, really expensive just to be able to web something. I don't know. That'd be my one buff. If Undead gets a buff, that would probably be it.
What about Dreadlord,
Yeah.
bro? Come on, you want to see that?
Oh,
Dreadlord?
no,
Yeah,
not
agility, man. Come on. Give him plus 40 agility. Okay, one thing just in closing, I think we need to think about when nerfing Undead is very important. The fact that Undead didn't win a WCG until 2012, we need to think about that, guys. So be careful when nerfing Undead.
All right. We done with Undead, or does somebody else have something still?
Talk about it a lot.
We're close to finishing up. We got items still to go, I think. All right. Items. Quick lightning rounds. How about we switch the format here? We're going to ask one of you guys, and then you quickly say good, bad, with short reasoning. We start with Leon. Tell me about all these items. What do you think about these changes?
The Wand of Mana, because every time I get it, I'm very sad because it's just not that as good as other items. So it's one a way to go for, like buff it. Wand of Illusion, I don't know, 2 charges, okay. It's fine, but I don't think it was necessary. Circlet, interesting thing to choose now. It's like a bit of Dota feeling. I don't know. I need to check that. Legion Dormhorn, movement speed. I like it. I like that they're like overall that they reduce the speed of the auras and also with the items. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Starshaped.
What was the if I think it's good or bad? I missed the
Lightning.
Yeah, just go through these changes here and tell us what you think about them and short reasoning.
Oh yeah, I have
Lightning
like a
round.
3-page Google Doc on the illusion. If we can, if I can share my screen for a moment here. No, I'll be
We're going
quick here.
overtime.
So, Wand of Illusion, I think that's a great change. It's one of those items where we've seen over time how strong it is in the right hands. So definitely, I could even nerf it to 1 charge. I feel like it, especially on some maps like Last Refuge, it's just so good. 1 mana, I think I agree with Leon. It's like it still feels bad. You don't want that item, but it's definitely good to buff it. So 75 feels like a good start. Circlet, kind of weird. But I don't know. It's a cool. I didn't even know you could do that. Like so props to them for thinking out of the box a bit. This way you can adapt it to whatever hero you have. Maybe even switch it real time. And like Happy will probably switch to min max somehow if you're super tryhard. I like it. And then I guess the auras are just to get in line with the new nerfs, which makes sense.
Starbuck.
Right, Wand of Illusion, great change. It was one of the best items. Like when it was in the marketplace, everybody bought it regardless of the race. Wand of Mana, a bit much, I would say. Maybe now it's too strong. I would maybe do it to 60 or 65. The Circlet is interesting. I'm kind of neutral on it. And the Speed Auras, I agree. Very nice.
Carson.
Illusion, good. One of mana stealing, agree with Starbuck, should be 60. Circlet change, I think, is stupid. I don't like things like that. I just think it's way too, like, fancy dancy. This just feels weird in this game. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. Auras are overrated unless Khadgars or sometimes Bone Chimes. I think auras are overrated. I don't think they need to be nerfed entirely into the ground. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm stupid. Who knows?
All right. Wand of Illusion, long overdue. This item is amazing in the early game for scouting. It's amazing for creeping. It's amazing in the late game for fighting. This was way OP. Thank God it's on 3 charges. One of Mana Stealing. Am I crazy? Or do we just have completely different views? Like, I think this is insane. I think this is incredible. I think this is way OP. Early game, you drain 150 mana from, say, a Mountain King first. And you get 150 mana. That's a 300 mana exchange. I think this is nuts. I think One of Mana Stealing is way better than people make it out to be. And I think this is the wrong way to go. Maybe you guys can say if you see this differently. But I think most items from this camp are okay. Big Invul okay, Big Healing okay, Scroll of the Beast okay in the right scenario. One of Mana Steal okay. Big Mana Potion, that's the big one. That's the sick one. That's the one that's too good, in my opinion. I think Big Mana Potion should be brought down to 200 mana. And One of Mana Stealing be left the way it is. And I think then all items are kind of on the same level. I think this makes One of Mana Stealing and Big Mana Potion way too good. That's just me. All right, Circlet. This is an unusual change for Warcraft, but I think it makes sense if you want to have the items be on the same power level, which I think is good. I think it really sucks when you play any kind of mirror. Lich mirror, Farseer mirror, Archmage mirror, and you get double rings, the other guy gets double circlet or double claws. Not cool. I think especially early game items should be really even in power level, because it can skew the game so heavily early on. So for that reason, I think Circlet is good, this change. However, things are missing. If this change is made, Circlet also needs to be cheaper, in my opinion. Circlet is 175 gold. This is too expensive for this kind of circlet. For that reason, I think the circlet should be 125 gold, 125, like all other items. And also, I think claws of attack of +5 should be brought down to +4. If the claws are weaker and the circlet is cheaper, I think it's perfect. I think then it's perfect. Then claws, circlet, gloves, and ring are basically all the same strength. And the auras, I agree with reducing. This makes them kind of weak, but auras I think are pretty good. However, also Khadgar's Pipe should be nerfed as well. And then I think
Khadgar should be the only one being nerfed, IMO. That's the only one that's like.
And then we're in a good place. Also, I think Sentry Wards should have less vision. Right now they have 1600 vision range. I think it should be only 1000. And Claws of Attack +9 should also be reduced to +7. Those are my suggestions.
I think a really good point about the early game, especially because that's such a, like, especially if it's a mirror match, like demon against demon. I agree entirely. It's just such a feels bad. I get double ring, he gets circling claws. Fuck, I lost. So definitely smoothing out the RNG in the early game, because both players are doing the exact same thing anyway. There's no interaction, so it's just like whoever gets luckier. It feels kind of stupid. Whereas more late game items where you're actually fighting for the camps, that's where it feels fine for me, that they're powerful and they can be varied. But I definitely agree with the early game. That's a good point.
You guys are free to disagree with me if you want. Or do you have any other item suggestions? We got lots of items in the pool, or are we kind of happy with the item pool?
I have two things to just touch on about the circlet. One is, if you have multiple circlets, do you think the toggle will change all of them at the same time? And should it change all of them at the same time?
It works individually, and there's no way Blizzard is going to code otherwise.
Yeah, and also, I hate it so much because, like, okay, you got two circlets in your inventory. Okay, the only efficient way to use it is to, like, toggle it individually, like, all the time. Like, if you're salving, put it on agility or put it on intelligence. If you're using a clarity, put it on strength. If you're is it more efficient to toggle it to agility for natural regen, or to toggle it to intelligence or health for natural regen? When is it more efficient? Do you do it on different? Do you toggle one to intelligence and the other to agility, or other to strength at all times when you're out of combat? What do you do? I hate it. I hate it.
And what's the default? There's also, like, what's the default setting? And should it be the default hero primary attribute, or is it always the same?
I think
and is there a visual cue?
I think.
Okay,
yeah.
that's nice.
You,
That's nice
You
from
see
you.
it. You see it in your hero bar thingy.
But you don't see it on the actual image of the item what it is. You
No.
have to look at the. So if you have other stat boosts, it might be hard to see which one you actually activated.
Yes.
It would be nice if it had colors like green
Yeah,
for
yeah.
agility, and so you
Exactly.
could visually see.
That's
I'm
true.
sure War 3 champions would do that, like they did it with the claws.
Oh,
regardless of which Blizzard would
true.
do it. Yeah,
They could change it. True. That would be cool.
There's just no efficient way to do it. It just hurts my brain. There's just no. What is the optimal way to use it? There's no. We need AI. We need AI to figure this out. Figure out the stupid item for 1+ stat at a time. It's so dumb.
I can see how this can seem quite convoluted. I agree. But I think early game item balance is so important. I have seen so many games ruined by double ring versus circle claws.
Yep.
And it
Amen.
sucks.
Amen. I
Completely.
agree.
All right. Well, this is pretty much it. They're also changing some map pool stuff and bug fixes, but that doesn't really matter too much. Also, we have been online quite some time. Gentlemen, I thank you very much. We've been here 3 hours, maybe even more. Thank you all very much for your time. Carson, I hope it's not too late in Canada and you're not going to run over a deer on your way to the gym.
No,
Carson told
I'll
me
be all right.
he wants to make sure that it's not too late yet for him to venture
It's
into
not even
the
3 yet. I just said
dangers
no
outside.
later than 3. It gets
All right.
dark here at 4:30 right now, my man.
Man.
Those are rookie
Crazy.
numbers, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, guys, thank you all very much for joining. It's been a pleasure. I already did my feedback video, of course, as you know, and I just wanted to have a conversation around here, so it's not just me always giving my needless opinions. But yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. Let's do our goodbyes. Leon, where can people find you? What are you up to? What do you want to say to the people?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to be here. It was awesome to talk with you guys about our future. To see, and hopefully it will continue and will be done right. Yeah, you can see me streaming. I will stream tomorrow, of course. For those who know me, I stream Warcraft 3, human gameplay a lot. I will stream Hot Coffee Friday, tomorrow, all day. So make sure you tune in if you want to see some tutorials for human plays. I also have a YouTube channel, so make sure you tune in there. Follow Leon, it's called. And yeah, thank you very much, guys, for being on that discussion. And thank you guys for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Starbuck.
Yeah, thanks for having me. First of all, I feel like we did good, constructive discussion today. And I thank you for that. And for everybody that wants to see me play, catch me on twitch.tv/Starbuck, where I play random, play some team games, and so on. Drop by, vibe with me, and listen to some nice music. And thank you, everybody.
When's the next Starshaped stream happening?
Well, I don't. Maybe if we get a good patch, maybe if we get some more PTR changes. The day might come where I stream again, my friends. But for now, there's a pretty good stream called Starbuck. Some pretty chill music, so I'd recommend that one.
Cheers.
But no, thank you very much for having me. It was a very nice discussion. I know. I will say this, that there's always a lot of negativity involved when we're talking balance ideas. So I think it's only healthy for us to kind of speak our minds and to be open. And I know, Remo, you get some hate sometimes for having these extreme ideas, but I really enjoy them. I think it's very fun to talk about them and listen to your ideas as well. So thank you for that. And thank you guys for the discussion.
And Carson.
Well, I was pretty much just here to meme, obviously. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, guys. So, don't listen to me. Listen to these guys and listen to Happy. Most importantly, always listen to Happy because he never does anything wrong, ever. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Back to Warcraft Weekly.
And also, don't forget to message Hitman on Twitter or Discord. I asked him to come and he refused. How dare he? Well, actually, he has to work today, so that didn't work out. But maybe next time.
Hashtag
Hopefully
quick
next
man.
time. if there is a new PTR update coming, if they do it like they did before, they will update this one with some, feedback in mind and stuff. Would you guys be down for another version, if I may ask?
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure.
All right, cool.
So
Starbuck's
just
like,
just me and Carson.
Fuck no. Fuck no, that's went way too long. And that's been going for quite some time.
Sure.
Guys, thank you all very much
course, bro.
for spending your valuable evening with me. That goes for our guests here and our viewers. All right, guys, this is it. I say now, good night. I'll see you again tomorrow. No, never mind. Tomorrow there's no show cup, but I'll see you soon. Have a good one. Take care. And yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.